Maine. Always a good time at Big Willie's. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening right now in the college football world, which you could probably say to start every single show. The most recent reports from Ross Dellinger and others are that as we head into an offseason and a conference championship weekend and what will very certainly be an intense debate about who belongs in the college football playoff field and who doesn't, we're hearing stories of random teams trying to schedule extra games outside of a conference championship context to prove to the committee that they belong in. I'm looking at you, Vanderbilt. Apparently Clark Lee signed off on this. Vanderbilt, who's the new money millionaires, right? They are the most recent SEC team who finds themselves in the national conversation, but right now on the outside looking in. And Vanderbilt was like, well, hey, why don't we play a game against a good team in conference championship weekend, a little extra championship, extra bowl game, and see if we can convince this committee that we deserve a spot. Reports are that Vanderbilt reached out to the University of Utah. Would you support that as a Utah fan? As your team has been punished for winning these last 5 weeks, but the last 2 weeks not winning impressively enough and having teams like Vanderbilt leapfrog them, would you support, you know what, let's just do this? And I would, all respect to the Holiday Bowl, the Vegas Bowl, the Alamo Bowl, the bowls that seem to be in the running for the University of Utah. If you're going to ask this team to play one more game, I cannot overstate how much I would rather it be an impromptu, hopefully somewhat meaningful game against a ranked Vanderbilt team or a ranked Miami team in conference championship weekend to make one last playoff push. That would be so much more significant and so much more interesting from a program standpoint. It's not going to happen, obviously. It's Thursday. You're not going to hear an announcement, hey, guys, we're flying to Tennessee, and in 2 days we're playing Vanderbilt. The reason I even bring it up, we know it's not happening, is because the creativity required now, or what people feel like is required, in order to make the playing field as even as they want it to be, is really, really difficult to find. And that's a Vanderbilt team that benefits from its connections to the SEC. Now, it is not viewed the same way as Alabama, as Georgia, as Texas, who's new to the SEC but is a long-time blue blood program. Vanderbilt finds themselves being like, man, we really, really, really want our place at the table. Vanderbilt in the SEC is desperate for a place at the table. So if you're BYU sitting at 11 and the committee has told you for 6 weeks in a row, like, we really like you. We really, really like you. We don't want to actually include you, but we really, really like you. The only way it seems for BYU is to beat Texas Tech. And they have an opportunity to do that, and we'll see how it plays. But that's got to be so discouraging. Now, Utah, we talked with Devin Dampier about it. You'll hear that interview again today. Utah is in a situation where, look, they had the opportunities against Texas Tech and against BYU, and they didn't capitalize on those opportunities, and now everyone has to just kind of sit back and eat the unfortunate taste of, well, you know what? That one passed you by. I've said it many times. I'll say it again. We thought that 10-2 would be good enough to get you into a college football playoff. Not going to be the case this year. And in the future, maybe there is some room for something like this. Maybe the College Football Playoff Committee hears what Vanderbilt is doing, and maybe ESPN and CBS and Netflix and everyone else is like, wait a second. You're telling me we could do like a tiebreaker game for an at-large bid? Do you know how electric that would be? An at-large invitational in conference championship weekend. You aren't invited to your conference championship. You didn't qualify. You didn't get in for the tiebreakers. Miami, who a lot of people think deserves a spot in the college football playoff, is going to be outside looking in because they didn't qualify for their conference championship game. All right? You know how electric a Utah versus Miami tiebreaker at-large invitational game would be at a neutral site this Saturday? Let's do a doubleheader in Arlington, shall we? Big 12 championship game, Brett Yormark. Be the conference that sponsors this thing. You want to talk about revenue streams that people haven't explored yet? The tiebreaker game. The hey, pick me game. BYU has their opportunity to get in. Utah doesn't seem like they do. Miami doesn't seem like they do necessarily. And the Notre Dame-Miami debate will continue, but it would be nonsensical for Notre Dame to suddenly be leapfrogged by an inactive Miami team. What if they weren't inactive, though? What if Miami had the opportunity and Utah had the opportunity to say, hey, we know that this committee is debating really 4 teams probably for that final at-large bid. Notre Dame, Miami, Texas, in a distant kind of a situation, Utah. What if we did an invitational and we could play for the right to not necessarily be guaranteed that spot, but to further bolster our resume? Because scheduling is your enemy in some of these cases. Vanderbilt might have stumbled onto the best idea I've heard in college football in a long time. There's been a lot of bad ideas that have floated around, and now are policy in college football. Vanderbilt's desperation, again, they could be in this team in this weekend. Maybe Miami plays Utah, or Vanderbilt plays Utah, Miami plays Texas. Or Miami says, Notre Dame, let's do it again. And then Notre Dame has to decide whether or not that throwdown is accepted. And then if you refuse the invitation, the committee goes, oh, they scared. You're out, Notre Dame. This would be the most chaotic, insane, but absolutely light it up, put it on prime time. I need to watch this type idea in the college football calendar. This would be more exciting than than the Big Ten championship game.
How dare you?
Well, James, I say that because you and I both know that the winner of the Big Ten championship game is in the playoff. The loser of the Big Ten championship game is also in the playoff.
Yeah, and they're probably the winner is going to be the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah,
the loser. I've been going through it in my head. I'm like, as long as it's not a blowout, the loser should probably still remain the 2 seed. At the very least, they'll be a top 4 seed still. So yeah, you're right.
Would you rather see Utah play in the impromptu, off-the-cuff, invitational, one last dash for the college football playoff, or the Vegas Bowl, or the Holiday Bowl, or the Alamo Bowl?
I would absolutely the at-large thing we're floating out here, and others have floated out. The other thing that I've seen that not near as exciting because the stakes wouldn't be very high would be make those the bowl matchups in these secondary bowls that are still pretty big deal. Alamo Bowl, Vegas Bowl is now one of those. Holiday Bowl, as you mentioned, and whatever else there is out there. Though those secondary bowls should be these teams that just barely missed.
You want to Pop-Tarts Bowl has done a really good job of marketing themselves and becoming viral and things like that. Pop-Tarts Bowl, you want to make yourself the number 1 most interesting bowl game, move yourself to conference championship weekend and make it a resume game for any team like Vanderbilt, like Utah, like Texas, like Miami that says, we think we deserve a spot. The College Football Playoff Committee doesn't even have to promise you anything. But the teams, there's a lot of coaches who probably would rather play their bowl game in conference championship weekend anyway. Just let's roll this thing through. Let's keep going. Let's not give them 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks to decide whether are we going to lift here, are we going to practice here, are we going to send them home, are we going to keep them over the break? Like, just let it happen. This is the greatest idea I've heard in a long time. And Vanderbilt, this was like a COVID scheduling crush. Remember when during 2020's football season, people were like, oh, can't play the game. Well, call someone else then. BYU, Tom Holmoe, that was like a stroke of genius scheduling year for BYU. They were putting games together on a week's notice.
Yeah, that wasn't the mantra anytime, anybody, anywhere.
And that's what Vanderbilt has said. We'll play anybody in the country. Throw down. I'm drawing a line in the sand. Who's going to step up to it? Do you know, James, how intense and incredible this would be? And if you're a bowl game, if you're a network, if you're Apple TV, you just say, hey, let's put this together. We don't care what college football committee has to say about it. We don't care what the CSC, we don't care what the NCAA has to say about it. Let's put this invitational together and see if it does something. And I promise you, it would go bananas, viral, and everyone would be fighting, clamoring for a spot in this game. Not everyone, but the 6 teams that are outside looking in, that are like, oh, man, should we do it? Notre Dame would be wringing their hands just like, well, if we say no, then the committee's going to think we're scared. And if we say yes and we have to play Miami again, they might beat us again.
Yeah, we might lose our spot. The other thing, the other reason why I like your idea to make these the bowl games and put them on conference championship weekend instead of afterwards is it also, all those reasons you brought up about coaches' decisions, how hard do we work them, all that stuff. It also probably makes it less likely that you have opt-outs to these games. You probably still have some if it's not guaranteed to help your playoff positioning.
But think of it.
There would be way less than there are for these secondary bowls.
Let's put it in like the Spencer Fano context here, right? If Spencer Fano, who has every right to just say, I'm not playing in the bowl game. We don't know if that's going to be his decision. Guys, it's been awesome, but I'm going to be a top 10 draft pick. I'm not going to risk that. As much as I love you all, you understand. And his teammates are going to say, of course we understand.
We heard Devin say, I would absolutely understand, and we as a team would absolutely understand if he made that decision.
100%, right? Now, change it a little bit to where it's not 3 weeks after your final regular season game. It's the following weekend. You're still staying in your schedule. You're deeply into your routine. And the invitation comes, obviously not on a Thursday, but the invitation comes on the Sunday after your game from the Pop-Tarts Bowl, from the Alamo Bowl, from the Vegas Bowl that is now scheduled on December 6th. And it's like, hey, Spencer, are you going to play against a ranked Vanderbilt team that just leapfrogged you in the college football playoff rankings to prove that you're the better team and to give this committee one last look at whether or not you guys belong? And look, his decision might be the same. He might look around and just be like, look, we've been giving up 500 yards of opposing offense. And I'm not super convinced that this is actually going to do anything for us. I think we're still on the outside looking in. The likelihood, though, that that's the decision, the likelihood that the opt-out remains as the number one option is, to me, very unlikely.
Yeah, way less. Yeah.
I would think he'd be like, wait, this is a meaningful game. This is a game that if we win is legendary in Utah football lore or Miami football lore or BYU. Oh, nope, they're in the conference championship game, or Vanderbilt football lore. Like the game, this could be the game that gets you a place at the table, and maybe it's not. But even if you win that game, right, you go out there and you say, Vanderbilt said anytime, any place, anywhere. We say the same thing. This is like playground rules. Let's go. How sick is that? It would be the coolest thing ever.
It's still, yeah, because it would not guarantee a spot in the playoff, even if it doesn't work out for you, that's still much better. I mean, I think the Vegas Bowl projected matchup, if Utah's in there, is either Iowa or Nebraska.
Yeah.
All due respect to those programs. They've had good seasons this year. Iowa's in the latest CFP rankings. You'd much rather play Vanderbilt, Miami, Texas, or USC, one of these teams that's just barely on the outside and not playing in conference championship. That's a much bigger matchup in one of these secondary bowls than Iowa or Nebraska or whoever else. Northwestern a couple years ago in the Vegas Bowl, like that was just kind of eh. I'd rather see them play one of these other teams for sure.
It would be fun. And maybe as the college football playoff format changed after 1 year.
Yeah.
It could change again next year. It could change again the year after that. And eventually we're probably going to 16. And then this invitational is the 17th versus 18th ranked teams, or the 18th versus 19th ranked teams, or whatever. Again, I also was looking at the criteria, right? There's a pretty significant push right now, at least conversationally, that, maybe this isn't the year where your group of five, top-ranked group of five champion should get an automatic bid. And I get it. You can't do that as a year-by-year thing. But it might behoove college football and college football fans in general to say you're only an automatic bid as the highest-ranked group of five champion under tougher criteria. Maybe you have to be an undefeated team. Maybe you have to be, and I think this is the most reasonable, maybe you have to be undefeated against other group of five teams.
Or top whatever. You pick a number 20, 15, whatever.
Sure.
In the final CFP.
Yeah. Maybe if you have it, like Boise State last year had a loss to Oregon. Oregon is a different animal than everyone else that Boise State played, and they accounted well for themselves in that game. Ashton Genty did, at least.
I mean, wasn't it one score game that they lost at Oregon, right? Yeah.
So a game like that, that's a quality loss, and I'm not the proponent of quality loss arguments, but
you showed well in a game like that.
You showed that you belong, right? So James Madison this year is just as likely as Tulane to be in. Tulane, and I would say James Madison probably deserves that top group of five team distinction more than Tulane does. Right now, Tulane, if they beat North Texas, it's Tulane.
Is it not? Would it not be? Because North Texas is one spot ahead of James Madison. Wouldn't
it's whoever wins that game, I guess.
Yeah, but maybe depending on how the game goes and how James Madison's Sun Belt Championship game goes, they would flip. But
James Madison's got an 8-4 Troy team to bolster their resume. North Texas and Tulane play one another. North Texas 11-1, Tulane 10-2. And remember, there is the coaching carousel part of this conversation, as all of those teams.
That's right.
All those teams lose their head coaches after
all
this.
Three of those teams will have a different head coach next year. Oh
Which,
my gosh.
And I think every one of them is going to finish out as far as the run goes.
Yeah. At
their current place. But if I'm a college football playoff committee, I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, let's say North Texas wins this one. So what does North Texas resume say? It says that their best win is the conference championship game against Tulane. Again, respect Tulane, the Fighting Jake Retzloffs. That's not the same thing as a game against BYU, as a game against Texas Tech, as a game against Virginia, as a game against SMU. It just isn't.
I'm laughing because what if Jake Retzloff and BYU make the college football playoff this year?
That could happen.
on different teams. Anyway,
that could happen. North Texas would have at that point one ranked win. Their only other ranked team that they played, and I'm not talking about ranked right now. I'm talking about ranked during the season.
Yeah.
The only other ranked team they played was South Florida, and they lost to South Florida.
They got destroyed.
And South Florida is not a Power 5 team.
Right. And just their best wins are they beat Navy, Texas, San Antonio, Western Michigan, and Army.
Yeah.
Those are, good, not great. Good group of five resume there, not great college football.
There's nothing on this resume with respect to Tulane, even if North Texas beats them, that says this is a squad that could beat a Power 4, Power 5 elite or borderline elite. Now, I realize this can come off as a little bit hypocritical from a Ute, from somebody who was on a team that people were looking at that resume and just being like, yeah, let them play in the BCS game against the Big East guys. Let them play against Pitt. Like they don't belong with USC, with Auburn, with Texas, with all these other teams, and we absolutely did. So I totally understand, but that's why I say maybe the criteria is you got to be undefeated.
Yeah.
Or if you are not going to make it that high of a bar to set, you got to be undefeated at least against your level of competition, because that's what this is really intended for, is the group of 5 team that has proven through the course of a season that they're not just good in the group of 5, that they're either so far above that level of competition, they deserve to go against someone better. And let's see where you're at. And look, Boise State, Hawaii, Utah, all the BCS busting teams.
TCU is one of those teams.
TCU,
1 year.
right? I mean, when TCU made it all the way to the conference or the national championship game, they were like, TCU? I mean, what are they doing here? Like, it still was, even though they're a powered conference team.
They'd been for a decade at that point.
Like, people are still kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And that's how some people are going to feel if Texas Tech accounts well for themselves in this playoff.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, hell, I'm still feeling that way about Indiana, if I'm being honest. So you got to kind of get on board with this, but maybe, just maybe, we should figure out the best way to make sure everyone has a seat at the table, because I don't want it to be the SEC and Big Ten Invitational. It's already risky enough when we're talking about the Big 12 outside looking in, the ACC outside looking in on the power structure. If it's only Notre Dame, only the SEC, and only the Big Ten that really control this thing, I don't want to be the guy that tells Utah State and Boise State and UNLV, I don't care how good your season is, you don't belong in the playoff. But I think this year is a good example of why I don't know that we need North Texas or Tulane or James Madison in. Now, James Madison's only loss is to Louisville, who's like a Power 4 team. So under my proposed rule set, they still will get in.
Yeah.
And I don't think the outcome is any different. But if you check those boxes, I'm not going to be the one who gatekeeps you. Even though I know BYU will account better for themselves in a playoff than James Madison will. I know it. I know Miami will. I know Utah will. But because this is where we all come from, having been Mountain West Conference teams and before that being WAC teams, I don't want to be the one that blocks this for the Sun Belt, for the WAC, for the Mountain West Conference, for Conference USA. I still think, though, if you go back and you inject truth serum into everyone that was making these policies, they were doing this to kind of like keep up appearances that, yeah, we do care about you, smaller conferences. It's not because we want to put a contending team in.
Yeah, and I think there was also an assumption that we're to the point where every year there's one group of 5 team that's worthy. And this year it's been proven that there probably isn't going to be that every year. Now, I think it's short-sighted to say, well, let's just scrap it then after this season, which could very well happen. I think that's pretty short-sighted because let's let this play out a little bit, and maybe eventually, and sooner rather than later probably, you're going to have that at least one every year that's like Boise State last year. That's like, yeah, they belong. The rest of the people in their division, for lack of a better word, don't really belong, but they do.
Like, I'm sorry, but if a one-loss BYU team in the regular season,
in a Power 4 conference,
if a 2-loss BYU team whose only losses are to a top 4 team in the country, if they are not invited and 11-2 Tulane is, that's dumb.
Yeah, could also be 11-2 Virginia.
Right.
Who's also, pretty obviously worse than 11-2 BYU, if that's how it turns out.
And I get it, right? If you start moving these goalposts and saying, well, but it's the Power 4 conferences and the group of, then you run this risk of being like, well, if we're really boiling it down about who can actually win this championship, then it is the Big Ten and SEC Invitational.
Yeah.
And it is Notre Dame gets invited when they look really good. And this year probably isn't that year, by the way. But I get it. You run a risk. We are, though, in a time in college football where every apple cart possible has been upset, and you can change the way you think about where teams sit, about how rules are, and about the criteria for how you allow teams into this postseason. You already changed the format once after expanding the field. When people looked last year and they said Arizona State and Boise State have first-round byes in the college football playoff, that's silly. And everyone looked around and said, yeah, it is. I think we might get to a point, maybe not this year, maybe next year, maybe the year after that, where you get to it and you say, all right, what has happened to these group of 5 champions in the first round of the playoff? Look, maybe James Madison gets in and goes on a run. Probably not, but maybe they do. I'll eat crow if that's the case, but I think we're going to be looking at a situation where this year, next year, the year after that, people are just like, all right, let's make it tougher. Let's not box them out completely, but let's say you got to be undefeated on a group of 5 schedule if we're going to invite you to the playoff automatically. Because automatically, you could make an argument that conference champions from certain conferences in certain years don't deserve an automatic bid.
ACC.
The ACC this year.
Certainly that will not be the case if Duke beats Virginia.
Then
we could get 2 group of 5 teams in.
Yeah.
OC.
And by the way, if Duke beats Virginia, the format probably will change. And not in a way that favors the Big 12 or that favors Utah or BYU. In that case, people are going to be like, Duke is in.
And then I don't even think that's the thing. I don't think Duke would get in over. I think James Madison and the winner of the American would get in
because you're right, because it's the highest ranked conference champions.
Top 5 highest ranked conference champions, not Power 4 conference champions, and then another one.
That's right. It is. You're absolutely right. And because like everyone, when these rules were made, that's how the brains were working. Just like, yeah, well, they're all going to get it. I mean, it's going to be the Power 4 and then the top group of 5 champions.
The ACC champion's going to be a higher rank than the American champion.
Might not be the case.
Might not be the case this year. Virginia will probably win. They already beat Duke this year, but man.
By the way, if you're the ACC, you might want to start putting into your bylaws that, hey, we're gonna reserve the right to do what the Mount West Conference did and use metrics to break tiebreakers.
Instead of conference record not being the only criteria.
We're gonna see who's the best teams, and we're gonna put them in the conference championship.
5 losses, but only 2 in conference, so that's why Duke's where they are. Just real quick, as you going back to the invitational thing, I could see there being room for like an NIT of college football, right? Sure. And that's what you would be. That's kind of what you were describing. And I think that people would still watch those games because unlike the NIT in college basketball, the actual NIT, you're talking about teams 69 through 100 through like 200 facing off, or through like 100 something facing off. In college football, you're talking about teams 11 through 25 facing off. That's a lot more compelling, and I think people would tune in, in the as a secondary like tournament. Running sort of adjacent to the college football playoff.
I mean, we've been talking for 15, 20 years now about how you keep bowl games relevant. This is it.
Yeah.
And
other than expanding the playoff even more, this is the way to do it.
And by the way, if teams are like, if people are like, well, you can't interfere with conference championship Saturday. Okay, don't then. Do it on Friday.
Do it Thursday or Friday. Thursday would be a little quick, but like NFL's, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, college football teams do a Saturday game then a Thursday game. It happens.
Yeah.
So, and if you really want the shot, if you really want to bolster that resume, it's not an ideal circumstance. Vanderbilt, Miami, Texas, Notre Dame, Utah. But you say, all right, let's ride. And then, guys, I won't ask you to play in a bowl game. As a player, this would be way better.
We gotta ask Dev. We're gonna get Dev on the rest of the month. We gotta float this idea out to Dev. See from a player's perspective.
I've never had a better idea that came from someone else's better idea. Sean O'Connell Show just getting started. Jam-packed show for you today. We have Gordy Chiesa, Beth Lanier, dishing with Dev. Who else do we have?
Eric Weddle.
And some of the biggest news in Utah recruiting history. Celeste Moa flips from Tennessee to the University of Utah. His dad, the Utah football legend Ben Moa, joining us at 1:30. So much to get to. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792 FM. We welcome in Gordy Chiesa, our resident NBA guru. Gordy, how are you, sir?
Sean, I'm doing fine. Thank you.
We'll get to the Utah Jazz here in a second. What is going on with this Chris Paul situation?
I'm really saddened by it because he's such a brilliant player, and it didn't work out. As far as with Chris Paul, he knew he could come off the bench, but he got very little playing time, and he was feuding with the head coach, with management, and also with his teammates as far as their lack of professionalism and accountability. And it didn't work out. And so they basically, this Hall of Fame player, 12-time All-Star, they moved him on from the team, and now he's sitting in L.A., and his contract is very minimum. It's like $3.6 million. He can't be traded, Sean, by the rules until December 15th, and then there'll probably be either a buyout during the year, if not before the trading deadline, which is on February 5th. So there's so many moving parts involved with this. I thought about, Sean, when's the last time this happened as far as a person being basically sent home? The only other times I could think about were Draymond Green back in 2022, when he punched Jordan Poole, his teammate, during practice, he was sent home away from the team. John Morant was sent home away from the team back in 23 and 25 for different gun violations. Latrell Sprewell was sent away from the team back in 1997 when he choked the head coach, Peter Colissimo. And then in 1995, Sean, it involved the Jazz. There was a guy named Vernon Maxwell. His nickname was Mad Max for a lot of reasons. After Game 1 in the playoffs, at home against the Jazz, meaning the Jazz were a home game, Rudy Tomjanovich sent him home for detrimental conduct to the team, and that helped the Rockets win the second championship by addition by subtraction. So it does happen, but it's way too infrequent.
And Vernon Maxwell, by the way, has kept that bit running even now when he makes podcast appearances, media appearances, and on Twitter. He's constantly trolling against Utah and the Utah Jazz fans. So that's that has persisted for 2+ decades now.
Yeah, very much, yeah. And so again, with Chris Paul, it didn't work out. And now, with the Clippers, they won against the Atlanta Hawks last night, but they've been struggling the whole season. So at age 40, this is Paul's 21st season in the NBA. This past year, right now, this season, he only got 14.3 minutes per game with the Clippers. He's averaging 2.9 points per game and 3.3 assists. So he got very little playing time, and it affected him mentally, but also as far as he has a loud voice in the locker room, and the players didn't like it, and management blinked, and Tyronn Lue and him couldn't come to a peace agreement where they coexisted. He hadn't talked to Tyronn Lue in over 3 weeks, minus being put in the game.
Wow. How good are the Thunder right now, Gordy?
They're great. They're absolutely a great team. And ironically, the Jazz play the Thunder. The Jazz right now are back east playing Brooklyn tonight and Knicks on Friday night. But the Jazz play the Thunder Sunday night here in Salt Lake City, 6 p.m. start. So these guys, the Thunder, they're the ultimate two-way team where they're great offensively, and also on the other side of the ball they play. Now historically, they're 21-1, and they're 10-0 at home and 11-1 on the road, and they've won 13 straight games in a row. And so the record for most wins ever consecutively are 33 in 1971-72 by the L.A. Lakers. And in Jazz basketball, a lot of fans don't remember this, and I certainly do. Back in 1996-97 season, the Jazz had 2 consecutive 15-game winning streaks. Sean, twice in the same season, the Jazz won 15 games in a row into a record of 64-18, 38-3 at home, and 26-15 on the road. And that was the year Jazz won the NBA Finals, lost unfortunately to the Bulls 4-2. So undefeated right now at home. The best record ever for a home team ever in history of basketball was the 85-86 Celtics, where they were 40-1. 40-1 at home. That team featured Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge of the Celtics, now of the Utah Jazz, and the sixth man was Bill Walton. So he had some unbelievable crew. So the Thunder are knocking on heaven's door.
Wow. 40-1. Imagine being the fan who only got tickets to the home game that they lost that year. You'd feel like you were the problem, that you had cursed the team.
Yeah, they lost to the Bucks. Ryan goes, the only time they lost was to the Bucks that year.
That's insane.
The Thunder, you love them, the way they play. They share the ball. They move. They cut hard. They're a bunch of hard-working players. Shea Alexander is a once-in-a-lifetime generational talent. The rest of the crew, Chet Holmgren, all those guys, they all play well. Jalen Williams, now with injury, is back in the starting lineup, all NBA performer. But the pieces, again, fit. So with the Clippers, I mentioned, the pieces don't fit. They're losing. Chris Paul now has been away from the team. With the Thunder's the direct opposite. The pieces fit.
Gordy Chiesa, our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking all things NBA. What do you need to see from the Jazz on this East Coast trip against the Nets and the Knicks?
Consistency. They come off a really good performance against the Rockets where they punch them in the face, and the Rockets didn't respond. So Larry Markin and Keontae George, they played every game this year. And so they've got to lead the charge as far as both sides of the ball. And that's what defending better and also cutting and moving and assisting. The Jazz have done a good job as far as assist, where the Jazz are third in the NBA in most assists per game, which is really impressive. They're averaging 30 assists per game, so they really are pass happy. Number one is the Hawks. Number two is the Heat. Now, here's the negative part of that. The Jazz commit the most turnovers in the NBA. So they pass the ball really well, and or they turn it over, which is bad. Either turnovers, either passing turnovers, or legal screens. So Yusuf Nurkic and those guys, Philip Howsky, they've got to do a better job of not setting illegal screens. So on this trip right now, for the Jazz to win both these games, is that they got to keep assisting, have less turnovers, and defend better, and go to their star players in crunch time, which is Larry Markin, who's having he's really a highly skilled marksman. He's averaging 28 points per game, and young fella Ace Bailey, age 19. He's really, you could see his projection is going higher and higher as far as trajectory. He's averaging 10.3 points a game on really solid 46% field goal percentage shooting.
Gordy, where's Giannis going to end up?
Well, Giannis right now is hurt. That's the first thing right now. He's hurt right now with a right calf strain. He's coming back probably right before Christmas. So he's out. He's frustrated that the Bucks have lost 8 of the last 10 games. Now he's eligible as far as in the big picture right now. So before I say what teams might be interested in the big picture, he's eligible on October 1st, 2026 for a 4-year, $275 million maximum extension that will put him through the 30-31 season. So if they do trade him before between now and the trading deadline, he's eligible for that. No matter what team he's traded for, he's eligible for that extension. So what types of team they keep reporting would be the Knicks. The Knicks would be very interested in him, but they would have to give away some star players to make it work. And also Minnesota, too, is interested. So it could be New York, it could be Minnesota. Those two teams are the teams that could make sense for him, and they'd have to trade players, but they have enough assets to do it right now.
What's on your list today, Gordy Chiesa?
My list today is about Chris Paul, his brilliance, and about the Utah Jazz former player John Stockton, his brilliance. This list today, Sean, is the NBA regular season career assist leaders of all time. It's 12. Also, Sean, before I say the guy's name, there's a Ute involved in this also. Assist makes 3 people happy. They are 1, the scorer, 2, the passer, 3, the head coach. Here's a list of the top 12 all-time NBA pass distributors. Number 12 all-time, vastly underrated in the NBA lexicon, Andre Miller is 12th all-time, former Ute standout. He had 8,524 assists. Number 11 all-time, Gary Payton, 8,966. Number 10, Isaiah Thomas, 9,061. Number 9, Oscar Robinson, 9,887 assists. Number 8, he plays for the Kings right now, Russell Westbrook, 10,076 assists. Number 7 all-time, Magic Johnson, 10,141. He averaged 11.2 assists per game for his career, which is the highest ever. Number 6, Mark Jackson, 10,334. Number 5, Steve Nash, 10,335. Number 4, LeBron James is 4th. So besides LeBron, besides being the all-time greatest scorer, he's 4th also right now as far as most assists with 11,620. Number 3, he's the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks, Jason Kidd, 12,091. Number 2, Chris Paul. We just mentioned before about him in the earlier segment. Chris Paul's second all-time with 12,552 assists in his 21st season. And the number 1 player of all time for assists is John Stockton with 15,806 assists in a brilliant 19-year career where he averaged 10.5 assists per game, which is second all-time. John retired in 2003, so his record has held up for the last 22 seasons. So that's my list of today. But Sean, I have a question for you about football.
Okay.
Do you think right now that will anybody ever break Emmitt Smith's career record as far as most yardage, as far as
career rushing record? I don't think so, because the longevity for running backs is trending the wrong direction. Guys aren't staying longer than they used to. The pay incentivizes guys to get in and get out now that the dollars are bigger. And, it's just a different time. Obviously, the passing game is a lot more emphasized than it used to be. So I don't think Emmitt Smith's all-time rushing record gets broken. What do you think?
And that's 18,000 yards, 355. What about Derrick Henry? He's got 12,354, age 31.
You'd have to play till he's – well, he might be the only guy. He might be the last guy who has a real shot at it. But he's so big, Gordy, that I can't decide if that is going to increase his longevity in the NFL or if it's something that is going to end up, having him retire when he's 34. And if he retires when he's 34, I don't think he hits that record. If he plays till he's 37 or 38, like Emmitt did, then maybe.
Interesting as far as the conversation, and we know we and I talk about it all the time. The record that might never be broken ever in the history of any sport would be Cal Ripken's most consecutive games played in Major League Baseball at 2,632 consecutive games, where Sean, it started on May 30th, 1982, and it ended September 20th, 1998.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to break that. And again, load management happens in baseball too, not for the same reasons. You know who holds the NBA record for most consecutive games played? This is a guy I imagine you probably know well.
Meaning what? AC Green.
AC Green, yeah. 1,192 games consecutively from 86 to 2001. That's bananas.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he was really a perfect player for the Lakers as far as the fit. I mentioned before about Chris Paul. We're talking about Chris today, and rightfully so. It's the right fit in your career arc. And John Stockton in jazz basketball history, folklore, he was absolutely the right fit. So people don't realize that John Stockton is the NBA leader in most ever assists, which might never be broken, and also most ever steals in a game. and Chris Paul is second. So Chris is second in assists and second in steals. That's what I'm really saddened about how it played out so far with Chris Paul.
Here's another fun fact, Gordy. I don't know if you knew this one, but we can all take it to the water cooler. On the list of guys who've played at least 500 consecutive NBA games, there's only one current active player that's hit at least 500 in a row. Obviously, trends have changed, load management, like I just talked about. Only one guy has played in more than 500 consecutive games.
And that'll be right now. It should be Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges, exactly. Wow, you are an encyclopedia, Gordy. You know everything about basketball. 570 games played.
Joe Ingles with the Jazz played unbelievable also consecutive games. So Joe Ingles, that unbelievable Aussie with a swag, that sharpshooter, he also played. Remember, when we say play, we mean that sometimes they might not feel well, or they have maybe a slight, strain on their body, but they gut it out as far as playing it. And by doing that, you win the respect of your teammates and also with the fans.
All right, Gordy. Always great catching up with you. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Sean. Peace out.
That's Gordy Chiesa, our resident NBA guru. Before we take a break here, a reminder that Advanced Window Products right now has their best deals of the year going on. $2,500 off 10 windows or more, 60 months interest-free financing. Buy the windows now, pay later. 60 months interest-free means that you've got 5 years to pay off these windows without a dime of interest being thrown on there. Maybe you need custom-shaped windows. They can take care of that. Maybe you have huge picture windows in your house. They can handle it. Single sliders, double hung windows. I didn't even know what those things were. You want a window that opens from the top and or the bottom? That's a double hung window. Casement windows, they can do anything and everything related to windows and doors. Increase the energy efficiency of your home, reduce your energy costs, and take advantage of the offer right now of 60 months interest-free financing. You don't have the excuse that, I can't afford to put new windows in my home. I can't write that check right now. I can't bust that thing out. You don't have to. Buy now, pay later. Give them a call, 801-850-9100. Tell them OC sent you or go to advancedwindows.com. Real quick hot lunch next, and then we'll dish it with Dev again on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792 on FM. Here's a trivia question for you. We're giving away a 4-pack to the University of Utah Salt Lake Showcase against Mississippi State at the Delta Center next Saturday, December 13th. The 4-pack of tickets goes to Who Can Tell Me This. Recently announced, just handed out, all conference team distinctions and honorees. How many Utes made first or second team all conference? Haven't talked about it yet. But if you know, you're going to get 4 tickets to Utah versus Mississippi State at the Salt Lake City Showcase. Because I asked the trivia question, James, I will reserve until a few moments before I tell you how many guys made it into the all-conference teams. The superlative awards, all right? Offensive Player of the Year, L.J. Martin, BYU running back. Defensive Player of the Year, no surprise, Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech linebacker. He has been unreal good. Offensive Newcomer of the Year, Devin Dampier, Utah quarterback. Defensive Newcomer of the Year, David Bailey, Texas Tech, the Stanford transfer, who is leading the nation in sacks right now. That's a pretty safe bet.
Sounds like that was the consolation prize to Defensive Player of the Year. It's like, hey, one of these guys is going to be newcomer. Well, I guess Rodriguez, it wouldn't be newcomer, but yeah.
Offensive Freshman of the Year, J.J. Buchanan. Just kidding. It's Bear Bachmeier, BYU quarterback.
Not Bird. Okay.
By the way, did you see the National Freshman of the Year, the Sean Alexander Award? Bear Bachmeier was not a finalist for that award.
Are you serious?
It's,
what other freshman? I mean,
Makai Lemon is probably going to win it.
All right.
I mean,
who's Makai Lemon? What team is he on?
He's the. Did I say the wrong name? The Miami guy.
Oh, yeah. It's not Lemon. It's Malachi.
Malachi Tony. Sorry,
Tony. That's it.
Lemon is the USC guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Malachi
Tony.
You're right.
Malachi Tony's probably going to win it, and then it's like
he's been spectacular.
Yeah. And Julian Sayin is a finalist. He will probably win it.
And he's, I guess, redshirt freshman, so it counts.
He'll probably win it, but Bear Bachmeier's not on the list.
Man,
that's
tough.
Harsh. Defensive Freshman of the Year, Wendell Gregory, the Oklahoma State defensive lineman. You couldn't pick him out of a lineup because Oklahoma State is trash, and this is just like a small consolation prize, I guess.
Yeah.
Special Teams Player of the Year, Palmer Williams, the punter for Baylor. Offensive Lineman of the Year, Spencer Fano. No surprise there. D Lineman of the Year, David Bailey, doubling up here. The Chuck Nannis Coach of the Year goes to Kalani Sitake.
All right.
His 10th season at BYU. He's now locked up for the foreseeable future and is getting paid like it.
Yeah, so two BYU representatives, 2 Utah representatives on those awards.
Okay, how great would it be? 3 BYU representatives.
3 BYU.
Coach, Offensive Player of the Year, and Offensive Freshman of the Year.
Right.
How great would it be if Kalani's agent had like insight on whether or not he was going to get this Coach of the Year award, and in the redone contract,
got him
he's
more
like,
money.
$1 million bonus if he's named it wouldn't be $1 million, but like a little bonus if he's named Coach of the Year. Scholar Athlete of the Year, which is what we all care about, who got the best grades.
Absolutely.
Sawyer Robertson of Baylor.
Okay.
Good job,
and
Sawyer.
he had a great year on the field, too, so awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes the Scholar Athlete is like just a random special teams dude.
Or walk-on or something.
That you're just like, oh, okay.
Good for them. But Sawyer Robinson, we know that guy.
For a starting quarterback, good job. Good job. Let's see. I think we got some correct answers so far on the text line, so I can go through before we get to Dishing with Dev, the replay, because he joined us live in studio yesterday. We can get to the actual all-conference team. And I guess I put my question out too late. I asked this morning on Twitter, hey, who do you think is going to be an all-conference player at the University of Utah? I didn't get a whole lot of response because, it was only a couple hours before the actual list was announced. First-team offense, Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomu, the only 2 Utes on the first-team offense. BYU gets L.J. Martin and Bruce Mitchell on offensive line. First-team defense, John Henry Daly from Utah, Jack Kelly from BYU, and Tanner Wall from BYU. If you had told me before the season that BYU was going to have a first-team all-conference defensive back and Utah was not, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah. Tanner Wall had a heck of a year, though.
He did have a great year. You can't hate on anything that he's done or that defense has done. Interestingly enough, I think that there were a lot of people, myself included, who thought Isaiah Glasker was the biggest returning star for BYU's defense. Isaiah Glasker's nowhere. Second-team offense. Parker Kingston from BYU. Will Farron and Parker Kingston are the specialists as well.
Will Farron, he missed a ton of field goals this year, though.
Logan Fano gets second-team defense, and so does Smith Snowden.
All right. Logan Fano, second-teamer. I think kind of quietly haven't put together that kind of season.
Honestly, if you're another player who excelled at that position this year, you're probably looking at that and going, what the heck? Because he didn't have a ton of like splash play production, but hey,
he definitely had an improved season
for sure
compared to his first couple of years at Utah. But yeah, you're right.
And the Big 12 has a third team offense: Devin Dampier, Wayshawn Parker, and Dallin Bentley. I'm very happy to see Dallin Bentley get
Absolutely.
a little bit of postseason love. He had such a phenomenal year. He was so important to this Utah football team.
Very dependable.
And let's see, from BYU on the third team, Isaiah Jada and Chase Roberts. Chase Roberts had, I think, a kind of underwhelming year relative to expectation.
I feel like Parker Kingston had the year that we expected Chase Roberts to.
That's fair to say.
Minus obviously Kingston's got the special teams that helps him too, but that Roberts does not. But I think offensively we would have thought that Roberts would have the year that Kingston had.
Third-team defense has no Utes, but has Isaiah Glasker and Falatau Satawala from BYU.
All right. A lot of Cougar representation, and it makes a lot of sense given the season they've had.
Arizona State, by the way, had a ton of representation on the first, second, and third teams. Obviously, so did Texas Tech. I mean, Texas Tech had 3 first-team defensive linemen. It's a small grievance, and maybe I'll wait till tomorrow to air it, but I will just say this. Not 11 players on the first-team offense and not 11 players on the first-team defense. They do that in basketball, too, where first-team all-conference is 10 players.
Yeah, just be like the NFL and NBA where it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
We'll get to that on the airing of grievances tomorrow because we're out of time now. But those are your all-conference lists for the hot lunch and your superlatives. Devin Dampier is your offensive newcomer of the year, and Spencer Fano is your offensive lineman of the year in the Big 12 Conference. Dishing with Dev, a replay from yesterday's conversation next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Special treat today, dishing with Dev comes a day early. Devin Dampier here live in person in studio right off the top. Brought to you by our friends over at ARUP Blood Services. Give local, save local. Polylift Concrete Lifting and Piering. America First Credit Union. And, of course, Culligan Water of Salt Lake City. Taste that Culligan difference. Dev, 10-2, won the last 5 games of the season. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm proud of my team. We made that a goal after our second loss. We can't afford to take any more if we want to have a chance at what we're going to do. And, man, we finished.
You finished strong, and I don't want to focus on anything negative because I found myself, and I admitted this on the air on Monday, I found myself watching that game against Kansas. You spoiled us at some point during the season where the wins were like 55 points to, defense is killing them. You guys are killing them. And I found myself against Kansas State and then against Kansas. I'm just like, oh, what's wrong with this team? Even towards the end when I'm like, oh, they're going to win. It's fine. I'm like, but why are they winning so ugly? And then I snapped out of it a little bit and I was like, a win is a win is a win. So I don't want to focus on anything negative here, but what you just said was that, if you wanted to have a chance to do what you wanted to do, this is how it had to be. You had to win these last 5 games of the year. And you did that. And unfortunately, you still don't have a chance to do the things that you wanted to do. How is that sitting with you right now?
Man, it hurts. It hurts always. I'm just a competitor. It hurts not to get where you wanted. But just, again, overall, though, the 10-win season is not bad at all. We're very proud of what we were able to accomplish. And, yeah, whatnot, but – yeah, it's funny. All those games we were blowing people out, and then we don't do it. And it's like, yo, what happened? Like,
it really is. I mean, it's not funny because it kind of sucks to realize you're feeling that way when you're watching. And look, I'm supposed to be a professional about how I watch Utah games and be as like neutral, whatever. I'm on the home of the Utes. I was a Ute myself. I'm watching as a fan, right?
Yeah.
And realizing, like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with this defense? How are they giving up 300 yards to Kansas? And then you're like, wait, hold on. They're up 10 right now. There's like 3 minutes left to play. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Why am I acting this way? But it's an elevation of expectation.
Yeah,
And
no
you
doubt.
guys elevated the expectations, especially offensively. We got so accustomed to that many points being scored, which, by the way, has never really happened for Utah football. So you broke the fan base, I guess.
Yeah, set those expectations high. I gotta keep on living to it.
You really do. and look, now we get ready for a bowl game. Now, we were told that a team meeting happened the other night, and it was to talk about bowl prep schedule. Is that what you guys were getting into on whatever it was Monday, Tuesday night?
Yeah, that was went in there, normal business, covered a Kansas game, and yeah, just bowl schedule, what's that's gonna look like next couple of weeks, and all that. But it's funny, as we were leaving, I talked to some people there, like, dang, I was expecting Whit to say if he's staying back on or not.
So even you guys on the team were like, maybe this is going to be what Whit
maybe
reveals it?
some people thought it. I didn't think so. I mean, I keep trying to tell people we're out of the loop just as much as everybody else is. We have no clue.
Do you think if and when an announcement is made, it's made to the team first, or is it just like we all get a press release at the same time?
Man, it might be we get it and then he announces it right after.
Yeah, I think that's probably how it'll happen. Because what's interesting about Kyle Whittingham is I don't think Coach Whitt feels accountable to anyone at all except, I mean, obviously his family, but except the players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there are coaches out there who have some relation. Like, Lane Kiffin clearly feels like the media needs to be involved in his career. You know what I mean? And there's probably coaches who are like, well, I got to tell my boss, the athletic director, first. Kyle Whittingham strikes me as a guy who's like, I care about my staff and my players, and then whoever finds out after that, I don't care.
Yeah, he definitely carries himself very internally and to his close people.
All right, I don't want to bounce around too much. Let's focus on this Kansas game because it is the final win of the season, 31-21. Really good game for you, 3 touchdowns, 253 yards. I thought we'd get Wayshawn Parker over 100 yards again. Didn't quite happen. You hooked up with Larry. He got almost 100 yards in this game. You're developing nice chemistry with him. Now that you've had a chance to digest it, how'd you feel about your performance, the offense's performance against Kansas?
Yeah, I think the first half, obviously, we just didn't capitalize on too many of our third down situations, and just was kind of back on chains. That's what we talked about at halftime. Just let's play more efficient ball and put points on the board, and that's kind of what we did. And I thought defense stepped up in the red zone quite a bit. I think they had 3 interceptions inside of that kind of 25. So, I just thought we stepped up, found a way to win.
I mentioned Larry Simmons. He's come on strong at the end of the season. You guys have obviously – his role grew. Seems like the chemistry grew a little bit more. We've talked about it before, but the dude just – his awareness when he's within like 2 yards of the sideline is something different. It's neat. I don't know how he does it, but when you're – now you got one more game to play with him, presumably guaranteed in this bowl. And then, of course, transfer portal's open and people are already getting phone calls and things like that. When you're developing chemistry with someone and it's kind of happening in the second half of the season, are you campaigning like, hey, let's make sure we can ride this through spring ball and into next year too?
Yeah, I got a big involvement in recruiting and keeping guys here for sure. So those conversations definitely happen. I'm very transparent with people. I let them know how I feel personally, and I'm always going to support them, whatever happens. Those conversations come up near the end of the year. But, Larry's one of those guys, man. Love to have you back. Imagine you're going to keep progressing in this offense. It was your first year. Second year, you're just going to be more comfortable, and the ball's going to find you a lot more.
We talked about this a little bit last week. I don't need you to name names, but how crazy is tampering right now? Conference championship week for whoever's in a conference championship, and everyone else is figuring out what happens next year. How crazy is the recruiting that's happening with players already on teams?
Man, it's serious. It's pretty hectic. A lot of agents are getting their calls because that's how you communicate. Agents are getting it, giving it to the players, and it's a lot going on. It's crazy world we live in, the college football.
Do guys typically does it seem like guys want to play it close to the vest, or because you're all teammates, it's like a brotherhood? Are you saying, hey, I got a call from this, these guys are bugging my agent and these guys are bugging my agent? Like, how communicative are people with the stuff that they're hearing?
Yeah, I think it's probably how close you are to someone.
Okay.
If they would give you that information or not.
Sure.
Most people want to stay for sure, especially at Utah. I think Utah's one of those schools because every school someone's getting tampered, those top guys and all that. So Utah's just one of those places where it's got to look really, really good for you to try to leave here because we just got a good thing going on.
Does Kyle Whittingham's eventual decision, and we think we're going to get something this week, does that change the calculus for anybody on this team? Like, is everyone that's on the team right now, you think, willing to play for head coach Morgan Scalley the way they were willing to play for head coach Kyle Whittingham?
Yes, for sure. Man, we love Whit, no doubt. And I think he's just made it where Scalley's kind of filling in his role at a very high level, as we can see as players already, that Scalley's ready for it when the time comes. So, I couldn't imagine, that being a big factor of why people would start looking at other places or things like that.
How much did you pay attention to the mess that was going on in Provo these last couple of days with Kalani Sitake getting a lot of attention from Penn State, offers from Penn State? Ultimately, after our show went final yesterday, BYU did the right thing. They extend Kalani, they give him what he asked for, and they throw a bunch of money at the BYU football program. How much attention did you pay to that?
Yeah, that's information hard to miss, especially in Utah. But yeah, no, it's been a hectic 48, 72 hours just with everything. I know Auburn got a new coach, and someone just said South Florida's looking into
Heartline, the Ohio
State's
play
OC,
caller, yeah.
So, man, so many things just happening. So
yeah, Stanford got their. the dust is starting to settle
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Now, when you see, I mean, I know you're focused on Utah football, but that's the rival, right? That's BYU. And look, it's a great thing for them. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. Kalani's a great coach. Having that level of financial commitment that he's been promised is obviously going to be very nice for BYU. Is it a motivator in any way? Not that you need more motivation, but is it a motivator in any way to be like, all right, bet, let's see, you got your guy. Now we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, man, it's hard not to want to get those get back games for sure. So next year, that's a game that's always going to be circled. It's rival game, both very two talented teams. So just for it to always be a good game, I'm always hyped to play in that game. I'm happy I get the second year in it to do that. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Devin Dampier is our guest here. Dishing with Dev is brought to you by Culligan Water of Salt Lake City. Taste the Culligan difference. Polylift Concrete Lifting and Piering, ARUP Blood Services, Give Local, Save Local, and America First Credit Union. Last night, the second to last, the penultimate college football playoff ranking comes out. And despite the fact that you've won 5 in a row, and despite the fact that you've found a way to beat Kansas State in a comeback form, and you beat Kansas, for the second straight week, they drop Utah in the rankings, now at number 15 in the latest college football playoff rankings. How does it make you feel?
Man, it's so weird because it felt like college football, they were messing with us at the beginning of the whole rankings and all that, and then
sure.
we see other teams have close games and almost lose, and I would say less caliber opponents than who we played against, people with worse records, and it's like they stay right at where they're at, or they might end up bumping up a spot. So it was like, man, we're just somehow dropping after winning games by whatever challenges come up. So it sucks. It feels disrespected a little bit, but man, yeah. Shoot.
There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, not
right?
at all. You
it's
just got to accept it.
The unfortunate reality is you can't even argue against it. There's no one to argue with about it. It's just like, but we won the games.
Right.
And, I mean, what's coming out now, what people are seeing now is that obviously the playoff committee can't, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, they can't get away from their biases, right? They're positioning all this stuff to make sure that Miami's in the conversation and Notre Dame's in the conversation. And I think both of those teams are deserving of being in the conversation. But to see what happened with your Utah team that was put right outside looking in the first ranking and then won all the games since.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, just kidding.
Now we're a distance away.
Yeah, you're lower now, despite the fact that you won all these games. You controlled what you can't control. We're going to punish you because it wasn't as impressive as Vanderbilt or whoever. It's an interesting, I think, insight into how the college football playoff committee world works, and it's not going to work in favor of the Big 12 conference and not in favor of a program like Utah, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. Like, when is it ever going to settle in with people? Because I'm pretty sure. I mean, at the beginning of the season, Big 12 did play against SECs. Yeah, probably at the beginning, and I don't know what the record of.
Well, unfortunately, it was Arizona. Somebody lost to Mississippi State, and it ended up being, they ended up being not a great SEC team. But the non-conference record, Baylor, Auburn, that
was like a close game.
The non-conference record for the Big 12 was really solid, was really, really good.
Yeah,
and that has been a problem in the past when Utah was in the Pac-12. I mean, there was a year where the Pac-12 was like 2-10 in the preseason against other in the non-conference against other Power 4 conferences or whatever.
Right.
So that wasn't the problem this year.
Yeah.
Problem this year is that it's a crowded field, right?
Yeah.
And we've been saying, oh, man, you need to be a league that is not full of really good teams that can all beat each other up. You need to have some elite teams.
Right.
And even though that happened this year in the Big 12 conference with Texas Tech and BYU both being one-loss teams and you all being a two-loss team, separating yourself from the pack, the college football world are just like, no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
This is going to be a one-bid league.
Yeah, which is, I don't know. Don't get my frustrations up right now.
We're stirring it up. We're going to keep talking. We'll talk before the bowl game and all that stuff. Appreciate you coming in. Congrats on a great regular season.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you.
That's Devin Dampier. Dishing with Dev is brought to you by America First Credit Union, Culligan Water of Salt Lake City, Concrete Lifting and Piering by Polylift, and ARUP Blood Services. Give local, save local. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM. NCAA volleyball tournament first round action coming up today. You can watch it on ESPN Plus. In fact, it's 3 hours from right now when Utah volleyball takes on the University of Northern Iowa in Omaha, Nebraska. Head coach Beth Lanier set to join us here right now. Coach, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much. Doing well.
I just have to ask this. For most coaches, media obligations, or not even obligations, but just media requests on game day, it's kind of like, yeah, good luck, buddy. I'll talk to you after the game is over. You're 3 hours away from an incredibly important match. What are you doing on my show?
Well, you know what? Sports like ours, we got to take whatever we can get. We got to take advantage of. If media wants to talk to us, I'm going to talk to them. So I appreciate you reaching out and having me on.
Well, we always love when we get to pick your brain a little bit. Last time we talked, your team was about to embark on a really rough stretch in the season from a scheduling standpoint. I think it was 4 out of 5 were going to be ranked matchups coming up, and it was TCU, Baylor, BYU, Kansas. And you ended up accounting well. You split it, 2-2 in those ones, beat BYU, which is obviously important at the Huntsman Center since the last time we talked. And then you beat Kansas at home, a top 15 Kansas team at home. Tell me how you managed that stretch and how, you felt like your girls played.
Yeah, how about that? I would say we were pretty dead in the water 3 weeks ago for making the tournament, and anybody that may have listened to our last call probably felt that. I mean, we were struggling, but I will just say this. My team just did not put their head down. They kept working. We kept talking about, the talent's there. We've got to put it together. We just kept feeling like we left something on the floor every time we played. And, there were some down times for sure, but they kept working and stuck together. And, as you know, we had a bunch of injuries and sicknesses, but we finally had a lineup that we've been starting to use for a number of matches. And it was just a little bit of a snowball effect. I do think, the reverse sweep on BYU at the Huntsman Center in front of 6,000 people did not hurt our confidence. It definitely, I think, propelled us into our last 5 matches or 4 matches after that. And yeah, when we beat BYU and Kansas, our RPI jumped 17 points. It's really quite unheard of, but that's how how big those matches were. And then we followed it up with another win over Arizona, who's another Arizona team. And and then we lost in 5 down at BYU, but played well. And then we actually had to beat Texas Tech on the road to even be eligible. I mean, we were sitting at 500, and we lose that match, we're not eligible for the tournament. And they were, kind of towards the bottom of the conference. So we actually had a lot of pressure on us to win that match to even have a shot. So yeah, it's been quite a ride in the last 3 weeks. I'm so proud and happy for my team.
You got the sweep, the necessary sweep against Texas Tech, and you're in. We'll get to the matchup here in just a second, but I want to stay on this. Those big RPI points and those what turned out to be very must-win games, right? Because rivalry games are obviously huge. Rivalry matches are huge, no matter what. How do you coach them differently against BYU and against Kansas when the stakes are incredibly high and those teams are really good, and you're on the home floor? A big match and a big game, coaches have this tendency, we're like, oh, no, we try to approach things the same way every time. Athletes, you try to get into the routine, but it's impossible to view a BYU match the same way you view a Central Florida match. So how do you coach those?
Yeah. Honestly, there's nothing the same about it. I've owned that for a long time against BYU or any big match. It is different. Now, you got to keep your wits about you. You've got to stay steady. But the thing what I've learned about playing BYU is you don't have to do any motivation. You just have to get your players to believe. And we talked all week. We had a couple really good practices, and we just talked all week that we're going, you have to be mentally tough. You have to be strong. You can't let things get you down. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, and we got to stay steady. And that's usually my message, when we do play, BYU or big matches, that, I don't have to do any motivation. It's really about just helping my players envision what the match is going to look like. It's going to be hard. They are going to go on runs. We're going to have to respond, but we got to be on the offense. We got to be locked in all night. And, once we got that win, I think Kansas, we just played well. I still don't know if we thought we had a shot at the tournament. Once we got the Kansas win, the Arizona match actually became a little bit more high pressure then, because we kind of went, wow, okay, this could happen, and we won in 5. So, we've had just different players come up big in this stretch. Some players that don't play a lot, we've needed, and, have kind of stepped up and, did some big stuff for us, along with our, stalwarts, Cameron Gabadlo and Emery Moyahi, and they just keep doing what they do and have become great leaders. So, yeah, to your question, I've never tried to convince my players that playing BYU is the same as any other match, because it's not. But how do we handle it? And my thing is, just stay the course, because we're going to be fired up. That's not going to be an issue. So.
You just mentioned 2 young women who are all conference players and obviously incredibly important for your team. What does it mean to the team, to you as a coach, to see Cameron and Emery get recognized for their efforts this year as all conference players in the Big 12?
Well, honestly, I couldn't be happier, because when our team was down mid-season, those 2 were feeling it, right? Like, they knew they were the leaders of the team, and when you're a leader, you don't want to let your team down, and I think they were feeling it. But a lot of credit goes to them for continuing, to stay the course with this group and continue their, strong leadership. And, Cameron has gotten, she's been just going off in these last 5 matches. I think she's over, 18 kills in every match we've had as of late. And that's what you expect out of your leader. So, really happy for both of them, completely deserving of their recognition.
Utah head volleyball coach Beth Lanier is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. NCAA tournament action, not tomorrow, today in 3 hours from Omaha, Nebraska. Coach kind enough to give us time on a match day. So what do we know about Northern Iowa? The now much reviled and much hated Northern Iowa volleyball team.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I got to tell you, I've never in 36 years, I've never had a more stressful selection show. We were in the last bracket, of course. We were the, ultimate bubble team, and I've never seen so many tears of joy from a team making the tournament. So I was super fired up about that. It was awesome. Northern Iowa is very good. They are the 6th seed in the tournament. We were one of the last 4 in, so we're the underdog here. They've won 21 straight matches. They went undefeated in the Missouri Valley, and they won their tournament as well. So they're a great program, very well coached. I have a lot of respect for Bobby Peterson. She's been there for, I think, 26 years, something like that. And just a really great program that I respect. So it's not going to be easy. We hope that the tough matches that we've been in is going to serve us well, but I think it's going to be tough, and looking forward to it.
In every other sport, there's always these cliches that people in my business lean on, like, well, now it's postseason volleyball, now it's playoff football, now it's tournament basketball, so it's different. Is tournament volleyball different than regular season volleyball?
My strength coach told me that Monday morning after selection show, they were running around the weight room saying 0-0, 0-0. So I guess, it's fun though. It's exciting. It does take kind of the pressure of the grind of the conference. You put that behind you, and it's exciting. My philosophy going into the NCAA tournament is you've got to just play with joy, and you got to love the opportunity, because there's 300 teams that aren't here, and we we're going into, go as far and deep as we can. I think the way you do that is approach it with just great gratitude and just fired up to have this opportunity. It's just an awesome opportunity in front of us.
For the uninitiated, we expect upsets in March Madness. We have learned probably not to expect too many upsets in college football playoff scenarios. Where does volleyball fall on the spectrum of, like, how likely are big-time upsets, Cinderella stories, et cetera?
You ask such great questions. I'm so impressed. I guess that's why you do what you do, right? That's a great question in that there hasn't been a lot of parity in Division I women's volleyball for a number of years. It's often the same characters, getting to the Final Four and the Sweet 16s and winning the national championships. But in the last few years, you're starting to see some different programs break through some ceilings. And you're starting to see them, even at the lower rounds. Not as much as March Madness, not as much as men's basketball. I don't think anything compares to that. But there is more parity in our sport, and it's good for our sport. And so I think fans could see some upsets today. There's some really intriguing matchups, including ours. I think ours is maybe one of the more intriguing matchups for people to watch.
Well, we'll be tuning in, Coach. Can't tell you how much I appreciate your time, especially on a game day. 3:30 for all of you Ute fans out there, ESPN Plus. Support these ladies who rallied when it mattered in this season to make this tournament. Thanks again, Coach. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I thank so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
Beth Lanier, go Utes! That's your head coach for Utah women's volleyball, Beth Lanier. And look, it is one thing to get into a season or into a stretch of your season where you have 4 ranked opponents back to back to back. That's going to happen in Big 12 basketball. That's going to happen in Big 12 volleyball. That's going to happen, hopefully, in Big 12 football for you or the Utah football team. When they're must win, or you're not going to be part of the postseason, and obviously this applies more to volleyball and to basketball than what we're talking about with football, but to get big wins when you have to in order to keep your season alive, to keep your postseason hopes alive, that's something special. And you can see, if you watch even the highlights that are available of the win at home over BYU, of the win at home over a top 15, 13th at the time, Kansas team. Like, one thing about volleyball, they don't hide the enthusiasm. They don't hide the excitement when that thing goes final. So this team is energized. And Missouri Valley Conference, Northern Iowa, get out of here. All right? 21 matches in a row, Northern Iowa. I've driven through Northern Iowa many, many times in my life. My parents are from Eastern Iowa. So when you're driving from Utah to Iowa in the summers, you got to drive through Central and Northern Iowa. Not a great place, okay?
Directional school.
Gross.
No, I mean, we're playing around here, but to hear her say 21 matches in a row, I'm like, okay. Sounds like they're a pretty formidable opponent. But come on.
Also,
Utes got this. Let's go.
I have a problem with mascots that make no sense for the place that they're in, like the Cincinnati Bearcats. You ever seen a Bearcat? You know what a Bearcat is?
I actually do not.
Okay, Google it.
It's not a mythical creature.
It's not. A Bearcat is a binturong. Okay, binturongs are like, they have prehensile tails. They're tree-dwelling, weird-looking raccoon
None of
things.
this is helping me.
And they smell like buttered popcorn, and they live in Southeast Asia. Why is Cincinnati the Bearcats? All right? The Northern Iowa mascot is a panther. There's no panthers in Northern Iowa. There's corn in Northern Iowa. And pigs.
I can see after Googling them why the common name is Bearcat. They do look like a bear and a cat-sized bear. That's with the whiskers and everything. Yeah, they really do.
But they have a weird, long, bushy, prehensile monkey tail.
Yeah.
which neither a bear nor a cat has.
No, that's true.
Okay?
It's got like a bear face with the cat whiskers. That's wild.
You know what? Next Big 12 Media Day, we're going to do this with everyone from Cincinnati, James. We're going to put them on the spot and be like, what do you know about Bearcats? Do you know anything about a Bearcat?
What do you know about, how do you say that, binturong?
A binturong, yeah.
What do you know about binturongs?
What do you know about binturongs?
Don't even say bearcat. What do you know about binturongs?
Like, what?
By the way, speaking of Bearcats, the Sam Houston Bearcats, cats with a K.
Yeah.
Do you realize that? Also, I mean, there's some kind of backstory to that that's like obviously not related to the animal that always leaves my mind when I'm like, wait, why is it a K?
Oh,
but there's something there with it.
By the way,
makes it make sense.
Sam Houston in Texas, also a place where Bearcats don't exist.
Yeah, what's going on?
Akron,
with
Zips,
a K or otherwise, yeah.
You know what their mascot is?
What's a zip? What does zip mean?
Well, do you know what the animal that they've chosen to represent zip? It's
No.
a kangaroo.
Yeah.
You think there's kangaroos in Akron, James? I have a problem with non-regionally accurate mascots.
Is there Jazz in Salt? Oh, sorry.
The Salt Lake City Dolphins. What? That doesn't make sense.
Speaking of obscure mascots, Will Hardy's alma mater, Williams College, the Ephs, as in one of their short for Ephraim, the founder of the school, Ephraim something.
Really?
The Ephs.
That's
shout
amazing.
out to Jazz coach Will Hardy and the Ephs.
By the way, we're only a couple months away from playing our obscure mascot challenge here on the Sean O'Connell Show, which is one of my favorite things to do on radio.
Oh yeah, and Jeff Schwartz has said that's that was his favorite bit of yours.
It's great. I
on
love
Pac-12 radio.
The obscure mascot challenge is fantastic. We might take it a little bit further when things like the binturong come up. Give me the scientific name of a Bearcat.
The scientific name of each school's animal mascot.
Give me the Latin name of every school's mascot. We're going to get real obscure.
Auburn Tigers? That's too easy.
Sorry, Auburn. Give me the Latin name of the Bengal Tiger. All right. Sean O'Connell Show continues with the Daily Dump. That's next on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 at 92.1 FM. Tease the season at You Into Golf. Brought to you by Worldwide Golf. New Bushnell Wingman HD speaker, a revolutionary speaker with built-in 3.5-inch touchscreen, now $199. Shop in-store or online at worldwidegolf.com. I tell you that because the PGA Tour leaderboard update for the Hero World Challenge comes to you from You Into Golf. What does it look like, James?
Let's see. Akshay Bhatia is your leader, and he has finished his opening round. One of the handful of guys who finished their round. He's your leader, tied for the lead. That is at 6 under, tied with Hideki Matsuyama, Wyndham Clark, or the Hotel as those of us call it. He's very well known as the Hotel man.
Okay,
Wyndham Clark, all tied for 6 under with a couple others there as well. At 5 under, one shut off the lead, tied for 5th. You got Harris English and Andrew Novak. And tied for 7th, there's a handful of guys, including Scotty Scheffler. There's a name we know at 4 under, 2 shots off the lead. And that rounds out your top 10. Checking on our local guys, I do not see Tony Finau in the field or Zach Blair. So it doesn't seem to be a lot of local guys in this field, the Hero World Challenge. Now, we're watching ESPN, and apparently there's another golf tournament happening too. It appears to be some kind of world format for charity. It's the World Champions Cup, supporting Shriners Children's Hospital.
Always a great cause.
Awesome. And apparently it's been going on. This is the 3rd or 4th year it's been happening, and it's on ESPN. And what a great cause! It's the field consists of PGA Tour champions, but it seems to be some aging PGA Tour champions. Mike Weir, Utah guy,
all right,
is in the field. Now, here's the deal. It's like a team format is what it looks like, at least today is. Maybe it's one of those tournaments where it's different formats throughout the weekend. Today's like a team format. The score is 42, 45, 47. Three groups, USA, Europe, and other international, apparently. 42, 46, 47 now, and USA presumably in the lead. I don't know what those numbers mean, but take those for what you take that for what you will. USA in the lead in the World Champions Cup as well, going on in the golf world.
Brought to you by You Into Golf by Worldwide Golf.
If you are a big enough golf fan that you understand this, go ahead and text us. If you want to educate us on the World Champions Cup, 877-353-0700.
You don't have to. Don't feel obligated. No, we love hearing from our listeners. Eric Weddle is going to join us in about 5 minutes. Ben Moa is going to join us after that at 1:30 as one of the big stories for the Daily Dump, brought to you by Valley Plumbing. Look for the truck with the duck for all your plumbing and drain cleaning needs. Is that Celeste Moa, Ben's young son, who was an all-everything athlete at Fremont High School and is now the 3rd Moa boy to be a big-time recruit, a Division I athlete. He flipped from Tennessee to Utah yesterday. This is huge because the most likely place that we will see him make an impact early on this Utah football team is playing wide receiver. And that has been a perennial question mark for the University of Utah. Hey, who's going to emerge as the big-time threat? And I want to give credit to, like, Ryan Davis, who ended up having a really good year. I'll give credit to Larry Simmons for emerging later on in the year. Like, these guys are working, and they did a good job. But the chicken and the egg argument with Utah football has always been like, well, if you can't show recruits that they're going to have possibility, that there are possibilities in this offense for being like a big threat, to be a big-time target, how are you going to get a 4-star receiver to come to Utah? Well, it helps when your dad was a legend there. It helps when you're a big-time legacy. It helps when you want to stay close to home. But this is a kid who should make an impact right away on a Utah football field. And, by the way, on the same day, we talked a lot about Kelvin Obot yesterday, who is the highest-rated recruit in Utah football history, the 5-star from Fruitland, Idaho, coached by Jordan Gross, signed yesterday. He's official, in the fold. Highest-rated recruit in the history of Utah football. Guess who the second highest-rated recruit in the history of Utah football is? Celeste Moa, who also signed, who flipped. He hasn't signed yet. I guess he's supposed to sign today because it's his birthday.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. Same day.
Stay away, Tennessee. Let him sign on his birthday, all right?
Same day. You've secured your top 2 recruits in history on the same day. So, and I find myself culpable of this as well, but the stories of Utah's potential recruiting downfall have been greatly exaggerated in this NIL era where there's just so much concern about can you keep up with the Joneses, and one of those Joneses, the most important of those Joneses being BYU, your rival down south. No official word on the Pula twins. That's going to be a big thing here. Although,
what's your feeling on that, OC?
Well, Micah Simon, the Utah wide receivers coach, he had a little subtweet today of it was a picture, like a Photoshop image of Devin Dampier smiling.
Oh.
And it's like, okay, are you tweeting that to react to what happened yesterday, or are you tweeting that to foreshadow something that might be announced today or tomorrow?
And by what happened yesterday is he just really enjoyed dishing with Devin.
He just really enjoyed the conversation. Now, look, obviously, if you're Devin Dampier, who we did talk to yesterday, and we replayed that interview today, like, this makes your job more fun if you have these types of talented guys. And man, I have to tell you, I don't think that Kyle Whittingham is going to change his decision, whatever that decision is. But when you talk about something that might tempt you to hang on a little bit longer, is there anything more tempting for a coach than signing the 2 biggest recruits in the history of your program on your way out the door?
And possibly adding to that with the Pula brothers.
Potentially adding to that? Like this, instead of being a top 40 class for Utah, if they get Obot and Moa and the Pula twins, now we're talking about it being a top 30 class for the University of Utah.
Is there any chance that we could work out a deal with Kalani and BYU to say, hey, you can get one Pula, we get another Pula?
That would actually be such a nightmare because there's always one twin who ends up being better.
Yeah,
twins do not.
It's true.
And look, in the case of
they're the
Pula
same,
twins,
but they're not the same. Okay?
In the case of the Pula twins, there's already one who's rated higher than the other. Now, whether or not he'll be the better college player, to be determined. But yeah.
Yeah, it's probably wouldn't work out well.
I don't know if you grew up with, I don't know if you grew up with any twins. I grew up with a couple sets of twins. Played Little League baseball with a set of twins. Not created equal. Wrestled in high school and played football with a set of twins. Not created equal.
Yeah.
All right. There's always one twin. There was a set of twins, girls that went to my high school as well. Not created equal. One was a much better athlete. I don't know about academics on any of those fronts.
Yeah, maybe they're the same academically.
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know. Maybe that's how the DNA.
Honestly, if you're a twin and you're not the same academically, that's kind of your fault because you could cheat and you could just like show up and take the same test.
Yeah.
The teacher's going to be like, no, you're the one with the birthmark. No one's paying that much attention. Anyway, that's the big story for the Daily Dump is that Utah – in the 11th hour, is able to flip Celeste Moa from Tennessee, get him to stay home. And another reason why that is a big deal is because Utah has done a good job of keeping big-time talent home, right? But every year it's been the number 1 recruit in the state of Utah goes to Oregon, and then Utah gets number 2 and number 3, and BYU gets number 4, or the number 1 recruit in Utah goes to USC, and then BYU gets number 2, and Utah gets number 3 and number 4, and BYU gets number 5. This is the first time we've seen the number 1 recruit in the state of Utah stay in the state of Utah in like a decade.
That's a big deal.
All these other guys all the other number 1 guys have gone to freaking Oregon. So that's a big deal.
Huge deal.
We'll talk to Ben Moa, the father of Celeste Moa, in about 28 minutes.
One quick thing, because we kind of maybe the reports were wrong, maybe we read into them wrong, but Ryder Lyons did end up signing yesterday. It was after we talked about it, but we had said It seemed to be that he was going. The insinuation was that he was going to wait till he was back from his mission, and that's what we went with as well. But apparently, he did sign later in the evening yesterday, so he's locked in. The BYU, he's going to go on his mission as a locked in, signed BYU football player. So that's something else.
Which means
big deal for BYU.
Exactly nothing if he changes his mind on his mission.
It's
because
true.
Guys can come back from their missions and be like, just kidding, I'm going somewhere else.
True. And then a reminder, we just talked to Beth Lanier, but a reminder for everyone, huge matchup for Utah volleyball, Northern Iowa, first round of the NCAA tournament, 3:30 on ESPN+. Be sure to tune in.
ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM and the Rocky Mountain Chevy dealers invite you to help those at the road home this holiday season with blankets, coats, shoes, hats, and gloves. Donations can be dropped off at any Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer. Visit ESPN700sports.com for their locations. Spread the warmth and help others find their way home. Eric Weddle next on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. The Utah football legend, NFL legend, head coach of the Rancho Bernardo Broncos, and my friend Eric Weddle joins us here on the Sean O'Connell Show on a Thursday. E-Dub, welcome back. How are you, sir?
Doing incredible. How about yourself?
I'm doing awesome, man. I had a great Thanksgiving holiday. How did you and the family spend it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was actually outside of our season ending, right? And I got over that. I had a week of being down in the dumps, and then it was nice to, we flew up Saturday to go to the Utah game with Gage, and all the, his sisters were able to be a part of that, and then I had to fly back with my third because she had her training camp for acrobatics. Then flew back up to Vegas, spent Cedar City for 3 or 4 days, and went back up to Salt Lake, went to the BYU game with the whole fam and for Gage, and then flew back Sunday. So it was a really fun week. A lot of friends, spent time with family, and yeah, so it was definitely good. And I want to just say, I mean, everyone's up in their arms. Oh my goodness gracious, about me being at the BYU game, and Utah fans. We're family, okay? I'm Utah through and through, okay? The only reason I was there is because they invited Gage there, okay? And did I know that I was going to be in some hype-up video? No, of course not. Do you think if they would have told me and asked me, what do you think I would have said? I would have said, no, thank you, okay? But when a coach asks you to say a few words to some players, you say something to the players because it's about the kids, it's about the young men. And I know a lot of Utah fans are getting their panties in a bunch, but just everyone needs to chill, relax. This is Gage's journey, and I'm just there to support him along with his sisters and my wife. And so everyone just needs to relax and know that I'm a Ute for life, and that's all that matters.
That is, listen, ladies, gentlemen, you got to, Eric Weddle now is dad before he's anything, okay? So, let the man go to a game. Also, I mean, Kalani is not going to ask me. Gary Anderson's not going to ask me. But, you can't say no to those guys. Those are great dudes that we have history with. So, you don't owe anybody an explanation, all right?
Exactly. I just want to, just clear the air.
All right, that's fine.
And everyone, make sure everyone's all good with life and everything else. Everyone needs to wake up and just enjoy life and not get all crazy.
Okay. I appreciate that about you, knowing that you got to speak to your peoples. So I was watching that game. I was tweeting about that game. I was getting real grumpy about what's going on with this team. How are they not looking better against Kansas? Why haven't they fixed the problems we saw against Kansas State? And then, about halftime, I realized I think they're going to win this game, and maybe they're not finishing the season as strong as we would like them to, but that would be a 10-win season, and ultimately that's what happens. First 10-win season for Utah in the regular season since 2019. A really, really good year. Now, a really, really good year that does not end in a trip to the college football playoff, that does not end in a trip to the Big 12 championship. But how are you viewing this season for the Utes?
Well, I mean, there's so much to be proud of. And, the last season was not up to what we believe our standard is and what is acceptable. And for that team and those players to put their best foot forward and come back with a 10-win season, 10 wins is hard to do. And it just so happened there were two better teams in the conference this year. And that's sometimes happened. If you would have said before the season that the Utah would be a 10-2 team, I would have said that's probably good enough to make the playoffs, right? And just the way things are going and how BYU is getting shafted in the rankings and just not even given a chance is baffling to me. But I am proud. I loved how we responded, and there were some electric moments. UCLA. I was at 3 games this year, and all 3 were wins, and all 3 were just awesome moments that I shared with my family. And at the end of the day, that's all you can, as an alum and as someone who supports the program and loves them, that's all you can ask for at the end of the day.
So 10-2 to finish the year, and a big question hanging over the program about all right, 10-2, is that satisfactory. Kyle Whittingham openly admitted on my show, and now he has since on other places, that he maybe would have walked away last year, but he couldn't go out on that bad note. And I look at what's happening now. I look at, some of the commitments they got yesterday in the early signing period opening and a 10-win season. And there's a couple ways I can look at it from a Kyle Whittingham perspective. Like, all right, 10-2, it's not a perfect season, but it's a really, really good one. It's a respectable end to my career if I want to walk away now. Also, you can look at it and say, well, 10-2, and we have some talented young guys, and I do still love coaching. I'm not asking you if you know what he's doing. I'm asking you, do you think finishing 10-2 changes the plans for Kyle Whittingham that maybe he thought he had?
I don't think so. I think whatever he decides and has decided, I'm sure he already knows that it's been known for a while. And I can only say that because when I was playing with the Rams my last year, and we've talked about this, midway through that season, I knew that this was it. Like, my desire, the motivation, the end-all, be-all, if you won or lost, was irrelevant at halftime of a game. So in my mind, so you know when it's time. And I think he knows one way or the other. And hopefully, I think it was smart to wait until after this early signing period. And I'm sure all the recruits know. I doubt he would leave all those kids hanging, whether he was coming back or retiring. And I think a lot of those kids know one way or the other that they know this is the program that we want to be a part of, if Coach Witt's there or not. So that says a lot about our program.
So you mentioned that you can't really get behind the way that the College Football Playoff Committee is ranking things right now, and with specific interest in BYU. They have their chance to beat Texas Tech in the conference championship game, and hopefully they can get in that way, and then the Big 12 is a two-bid league. There's this log jam after that, like, number 10 spot, and you really have to be top 10 in order to be in because of the automatic qualifiers. And we started the show today with a proposal that kind of came out of Vanderbilt's interest in scheduling an extra game this week. And I want to see what you think of it. All right. You take bowl games like the Pop-Tarts Bowl, the Vegas Bowl, the Alamo Bowl, whoever wants to do it. And instead of playing them the week of Christmas or a week before Christmas or New Year's or whatever, you have whatever that bowl game is, schedule itself on conference championship weekend, and they call Vanderbilt, they call Miami, they call Alabama, or no, excuse me, you call Texas, you call anyone who's kind of between 11 and 15 who thinks they deserve to be in, and you say, all right, you're going to play on Friday before conference championship weekend or Thursday before conference championship weekend, and you're going to make one last push with that result. Like, I would love to see Utah-Vanderbilt this weekend. Vanderbilt leapfrogged Utah for a higher ranking, and both of those teams are outside looking in right now, and I don't think there's really a sincere path for either of them to get the invite to the college football playoff. But why not have a resume-building game at the end of the year instead of a bowl game December 31st or whatever? Would you get on board with that idea?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an idea. The craziest part of it all, right? Like you go off like Alabama, Georgia, and most people are saying, if you play in your championship game and you're already inside the top 10, a loss outside of a blowout loss shouldn't remove you from the playoffs, right? Like, you earn the right to play in your conference championship. You deserve it. Same thing with Indiana, Ohio State. Well, that's not the same with BYU in Texas Tech. BYU has to win this game, right, to win. When they shouldn't. They should already be in the top 10, right? And win or lose, if it's a competitive game, they should still be in the playoff. But for whatever reason, I don't know why the slander against them, when you put them up against every other team outside of the top 8 or 7, it's not even close. So it's frustrating for me because I want to see them in it, right? And I think they've earned it. And I would be so hot if it was Utah in the same predicament, which I probably think it would have been just because of what they think of the Big 12 and they think of Utah and BYU and et cetera, et cetera. So I hope they win, and I hope they screw everything up of all these, and I hope Notre Dame gets pushed out, and I hope Miami doesn't even get a sniff, and I hope Virginia wins, or maybe even Duke wins, so that puts another G5 in there. So I want all that because a lot of these teams are just getting in there just because of their name and not what they do on the football field. So, yeah, long story short, that would be great. It's a pipe dream at this point until they get into an actual ranking system that goes off what you do on the field and not get these guys in a office building on making deals underneath the table to get this team in and keep this team out. It's never going to be truly the best 12 teams.
I have in the past always kind of made fun of the BYU fan base for their persecution complex because I'm like, what are you talking about? You guys have all the money. You don't have to worry about some of this stuff. But, I mean, Bear Bachmeier's being left off a list that he should be on at the end of this season, and BYU, I agree with you, BYU should be in the conversation, a more serious conversation based on their resume, based on what they've actually done. And so I think there is something to the fact that, like, the national landscape of college football is like, we're not fans of BYU. And, I mean, I guess it could be because it's a religious institution. I guess it could be, like, a misunderstanding of or dislike for the Mormon Church. I guess it could be something associated with the fact that BYU is new money, right? They're here for the first time kind of a situation. Do you have a theory on why BYU is not being treated the same way? I guess it could just be the fact that they're in the Big 12 instead of the SEC, but they're not even being treated the same way as, like, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's given more credit for what they've done than they probably should, and BYU is being given less credit for what they've done.
Yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be talked about and brought up on the national stage because it's anyone with a logical brain knows what's going on, and it's not right. It's not right to those kids and the coaches and everyone that's involved. It's not okay that these teams, just because of their name, you can't say the religious aspect because Notre Dame is a religious school, and I think a little bit is the name recognition of a Notre Dame or a Miami and the prowess that brings. But look at what they just announced like a day ago about the Big 12 championship being sold out. Like, you can't say it's not going to be money driven when BYU can bring in more fans than most schools in the country, and viewership's going to be the same. So I don't know. It's really, really crazy, honestly. Like, I sit back and I look through all like the different analytics and this and that, and you could say what you want, like who would be favored, and it doesn't matter. What matters is what you do, and what they've done should be in there, and it's kind of sad that it's not.
Right now, in a 12-team expanded college football playoff, as you're well aware, there is a spot for the 5 highest ranked conference champions automatically, which means presumably at least one non-Power 5 conference champ gets in. This year, there's actually the possibility that 2 could get in, that your Tulane, North Texas, James Madison, they all still have a shot. And this is a really delicate thing for a Utah guy to talk about because at one time, Utah was the little engine that could. At one time, Utah was the BCS buster, and you were obviously an important part of that first BCS busting team. So I can feel a little hypocritical when I'm like, well, I don't know if we need to guarantee a spot for North Texas or for Tulane when there are so many teams like BYU, like potentially Miami, like potentially Vanderbilt, or even Utah, if you want to still put them in that conversation at number 15. If there's that many teams that are really, really good that are not going to be in this college football playoff, do we need to put in a group of 5 champ? And I wonder if you would get on board with the idea that you could make the criteria tougher. You don't just get in by being a conference champion in the group of 5, but maybe you have to be a conference champion who's undefeated against other G5 teams or undefeated, period. Would you get on board with tougher criteria for that automatic bid outside of the Power 4?
Yeah, I mean, that's the least of the worries. Like, reality is Tulane or whatever team is going to get in, they're going to be a 3-touchdown dog and they're going to get blown out. It's not like a Boise State from last year who was undefeated, who made those metrics, the eye test, right? Like, there's not that team out there.
Yeah, they had the second best player
season.
in the nation in Ashton Genty. I mean, it was different. Yeah.
It was different. So, yeah, like making it that you have to go undefeated. I like the fact that, hey, once every 5 years there's going to be a G5 team that can compete, and who knows, right? Like, I love that story. That was us. I feel like that's something that shouldn't be taken away. I just think, like, if you're these schools that are on the fringe, it's like, hey, who was it? Texas, don't lose to an awful Florida team, okay? Or Notre Dame, go beat someone that has a winning record, right? Or Miami, same thing. Like, your conference sucks and your only win is Notre Dame. Well, okay, that's looked at positive, but for BYU, it's frowned upon. Well, why is the subjectivity against teams when it's not an even, like, a fair fight? Like, that's really what it needs to come down to, and handle on the field. And what's gonna be crazy is Alabama ends up losing to Georgia, because I think that's what's going to happen. And they're a 3-loss team. They get left out. That's going to create anarchy that basically the number one top seed of the SEC going in, because they are the number one seed, because they beat Georgia head-to-head going into this SEC championship game. A 3-loss SEC 1 seed going into conference weekend loses, and now they're not in the playoff. It'll basically say, well, we're not going to play in the championship games anymore. What's the point? If I'm already in the playoffs, there is no point. So really, the committee is on a slippery slope, because what are you going to do with that situation if that happens? And then if BYU wins, that's fantastic. If BYU loses and Miami jumps them, now what are you going to do with Miami Notre Dame being right next to each other? Does head-to-head not matter? Well, you better hope it does, but now they're going to be in a position. So I don't know what's going to happen. I just hope BYU wins, and a couple other schools that I've gotten close with over the last year, I hope they win, and we'll see what happens.
Have you seen the Big 12 all-conference team yet?
I have not. Tell me who's on it.
Okay, Utah got Caleb Lomu and Spencer Fano on the first team offense. John Henry Daly, first team defense. Those are the only Utes on the first team. Second team, Logan Fano and Smith Snowden made second team defense. No second team Utes on the offensive side. And then the Big 12 does a third team, Devin Dampier, Wayshawn Parker, Dallin Bentley, the tight end on offense. Nobody on defense. I feel like there's some snubs here. What do you think?
How do they even vote on it? Is it, it's crazy, like league games compared to your whole season. Is it only what you do in those league games that matter, or is it combined of your whole season? I thought the interior O-linemen, our guards and center, I think they deserve second team, or at least honorable mention. I'm not sure. Being the third best team in the conference, you would expect more than 6 to 8 guys on there, or at least just 6 guys on first or second team. Was that it?
There were five guys on first or second team. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know what did BYU have in Texas Tech? Do you have those numbers?
Yeah. BYU had 2 first team offense guys in LJ Martin and Bruce Mitchell. They had two first team defense guys in Jack Kelly and Tanner Wall, the safety. And second team, they had Parker Kingston, who got double duty for wide receiver and punt returner. Their kicker was second team. And on defense, BYU had no second team defensive guys. So kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's kind of weird.
How important were these awards to you? I mean, now you went on to a great NFL career and you should be in the Hall of Fame. So I imagine being like an all-conference college player doesn't mean that much anymore. But at this time, I mean, were you like holding your breath as a college player to see where you were at on these lists?
Oh, for sure. That was like, you had your team awards, but those league awards were, that's how you like earn your respect, and that's how you like evaluate your season per se, and then how you are recognized to your competitors. So, yeah, like every year you're looking for it, and you're hoping, right, fingers crossed, that you're recognized for what you did and what you did for your team and all that. So I think like it should go, first, second, third, like those should have the majority of the guys, unless you're just such a baller standout. But it's interesting to see that there's not that many for Utah or BYU when they were two of the best teams in the league by far.
Yeah, Arizona State got a lot of love, and Texas Tech, I think deservedly so, got a lot of love. Although for Texas Tech, they had nobody on the offense. It was all their defense that got which, that's the thing that's making them so formidable. But, yeah, inexact and imperfect science in these all-conference teams. I thought I would have liked to see more than just Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu. Maybe not on the first team, but Utah has the second best rushing attack in the country, and top among the power schools. And for like the rest of the offensive line to not even get like third team honors is interesting to me. And Jackson Benny also got nothing, and Scooby Davis also got nothing. Which you're picking nits here, but that's what I would have said.
I agree on all those names, especially the interior linemen. I thought Benny was one of the better defensive backs and could do multiple things and was thrust into different positions, obviously. So to not get recognized, again, I don't know if the coaches are involved. I don't know if it's media. I don't really know how the voting is. But if it was up to the coaches, I'm sure those names would be different.
All right, dude. Well, appreciate your time as always. I guess we'll chat again next week. We'll have an idea exactly how this college football playoff thing shakes out. So what's your prediction for Texas Tech BYU before I let you go?
Yeah, I think BYU will beat them. And I don't know the score or anything. I just, seeing them live and just being around them, they got a real special team. And I'm hoping that they get the chance to show it on the biggest stage, which will be this weekend. So I'm calling the upset. 12-point dogs is insane to me. So I hope they go out and show it and put their best foot forward.
Did you ever think Kalani was going to go to Penn State?
No.
Me neither.
No. He's you get in these negotiations and teams you're sought after, right? Ultimately, if you're in a good place, you're as a coach or a player, like you're thinking of your family, you're thinking of your coaches. Like ultimately, I think he did it and went through it all, and he was probably serious to an extent, but it was ultimately to help out the coaches, himself in the long run, and the program, right? Like you have an advantage to put your foot down on some things and to help out your assistants, and it's kind of your job to do so. So it was great to see him back. They got a good thing going, man, for sure.
Ben Moa is joining me after the break. What should I say to Ben from Eric Weddle?
Baby, let's go. Get that Salisi up in here. I texted him when I saw. I was like, "Is he coming home?" And he texted back, and they're just ecstatic, and that could only be the dream, right? So very cool. He's going to be an impact player out the gate. I think he'll be an early enroll, hopefully, and just get him on that field and go compete, and let's go see him in that red and white, baby.
For all you Utah fans out there, if you go back to the 3 season, there was a Weddle and a Moa on the field together for the University of Utah. It could happen again up on the hill. I guess that would be 2028?
2028. It could happen.
It could happen. All right, dude. Thank you. Love you, man.
You got it, bro. Good to see you.
That's Eric Weddle. Utah football legend. We take a break. We come back with another one. Ben Moa, whose son, he's committed. He flipped. Is he going to be an early enrollee? We'll ask Ben next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM. If you missed the Utah Mammoth 7-0 victory last night, because you don't have the right television package or whatever, go to Big Willie's at 1717 South Main. They're doing watch parties for every Utah Mammoth game. Up next will be the Vancouver Canucks at Rogers Arena. Maybe another 7 goals on deck for the Mammoth. Franchise highs, first shutout for Vejmelka. It was great. If you missed it, you don't have to. Big Willie's at 1717 South Main. Tell them Mosi sent you. They're going to hook you up with incredible food, great drinks, and all the sports you can handle. They are our official presenting sponsor here on the Sean O'Connell Show. And that means Big Willie's is what brings you the Utah football legend who's got some great genes, and he's passed them on to multiple sons who are now headed or already in Division I football. Ben Moa joins us here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Ben, what a pleasure. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you all right.
Okay, great, man. Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
So, big news, obviously, that your boy Celesi has decided that he's coming to the University of Utah instead of going to Tennessee. Top-rated recruit in the state of Utah, and he's flipped to stay home with the Utes, which, of course, is your alma mater. Give me what insight you can on how this happened.
Man, so we got down to the final time, and then Lewis Powell called me like a brother. You know him. You know how it is, OC. Luke called me late, and then he's like, "Hey, do you think there's any chance I could get my nephew? I want to just talk to him about maybe how we see him, and kind of pitched it to him, how they see him in the plan for him was, and it was just at the last minute he was like, Dad, I think I want to stay home. So he decided to stay home, and man, it's been a blessing. I have 3 boys playing college football, and I didn't have a legacy player yet. So for me, it was a dream come true.
And I know your dad first, because everyone, as much as you care about being a Ute, your dad first, and I know you're proud of your other boys as well. But how meaningful was that to hear him say, I want to go to the school you went to?
Yeah, so my other boys, my other 2 boys started at BYU, and then one went to transferred to UConn, University of Connecticut, and the other one at Michigan State Ice. And I never try to influence them to come to the school because I'm always secretly wanting them to, but I'm always going to try to push them where they want to go and where they, my other boys wanted to pave their own way. And Celeste said he can go to Tennessee and be a household name and do the thing and maybe be a first-round pick and just be another first-rounder. But at Utah, he can do the same thing. The path can be the same way. He can be a first-rounder, but he can create a legacy here and be stapled in the Utah history books.
So people who watched you play remember that, as a tight end, you were formidable, but also you helped pioneer the Wildcat and you showed your versatility in that regard. And we were talking about you yesterday, as I told you in a text, because, you had your time in the NFL and then you took time away from competitive athletics and then you jump back into combat sports and you've done MMA, you've done bare knuckle boxing, and the versatility is a key here with Ben Moa. And one of the things that we've heard about Celesi is that, that versatility is something that, Utah envisions. Was that how the pitch came in, that, hey, man, we could see you on both sides of the ball, or maybe you start on one, end up on the other? Did they give any guidance on the positional ideas and where we will see Celesi?
Yeah, I think, they gave us the full plan of how they see him and how they plan on plugging him in. I think he'll start his journey on offense, and then at some point, kind of like they were using the players this year, have some type of defensive presence after offense is mastered. The other thing about Celeste is I played Celeste when he was young. I played him 2 grades up in everything because I didn't want him to because I kind of seen his talent. I played him 2 grades up, and he didn't really know the difference. So he was always he always was in the high level. So ever since his freshman year, he's been starting varsity. And he didn't know the difference because when in the offseason, he trains with his two brothers. And they just beat the piss out of him. Sorry, I don't know if I can say that on the radio.
You could say that. You can
And
say
then-
that.
Okay. So and then when he got to high school, he was like, oh, this is way easier than playing against my brothers in training, the training part of it. So he has a different talent with him. And I've always coached him like he was in college already, super intense. And so he has thick skin, and he's been coached by a crazy person like me. So, and all my boys have. So when they get to college, you know how the screaming and yelling is. That transition for him will be easy. Playing against really good people for him will be easy. Pressure, he loves pressure. He deals with it really well. So all my boys do. But yeah, I'm just happy to be a Ute, man. To have a legacy boy. Obviously, I'm extremely proud of my other two boys, especially my older boy both of my older boys. They paved the way for my youngest one, and they're more happy for him than I am because they put the work in with him. They always said he's the best out of all of them, and they always push him to be what he is right now. So.
Ben Moa, the Utah football legend and father of Celeste Moa, who is the second highest rated recruit in Utah football history. That's the guest right now. So Ben, that was going to be my next question about when you talk about defensive back, wide receiver. That's not toughness. We don't talk about toughness a lot in those places. But when I think of the name Ben Moa, because I know you and because I know what you've done, not only in football, but nobody else jumps into MMA in their mid-30s and has that kind of success. So how tough is Celeste Moa?
Celeste Moa is tough. He's gritty. He'll go in there and do the hard work. He'll talk if you want to talk, but he's not. For him, he doesn't really talk crazy like some of the kids. But if you challenge him or say something to him, he's ready to talk crazy, and he talks crazy with the best of them. But he is a kid that if you have a problem with him, he's going to try to in the game. He'll try to smash your face. So he's pretty tough. Good kid though. It all comes from the mom's genes. My wife's a genetic freak. I give all my boys' talents and all that credit to my wife and her son.
We did actually mention that on the show yesterday because my theory is if you got an athletic dad, you got a 50% chance of being a good athlete. If you have an athletic mom and an athletic dad, you're not only 100% going to be an athlete, but you're going to be that much better because the mom genes really matter in that case. And obviously we know the family your wife comes from as well has a good football history. One of the big questions about this recruiting class and about the future for Utah football is, like, with this NIL world, can you keep up at a public institution like the University of Utah with the money that BYU's throwing around? And, look, they just flipped a kid from an SEC school that has a history of throwing money around. So what can you tell me about Utah's positioning in NIL, and how important was that in your son's recruitment?
Utah made a significant push. And they, with not only money but just opportunity, legacy, it was just a great situation. But Utah can swing and run and do the NIL with the top in the country. No question.
When you look at the impact you had on really a breakout team for the University of Utah, and now you're coaching your sons through a totally different world in college sports. If you got a free burrito, Ben, back in your day, it was illegal. And now there's, 6 and 7 figure deals coming in for these college kids. What would your decision-making have been like, your maturity and able to handle the business side of things, if you take yourself back to when you were a college athlete, if you had to deal with all the same things that your sons are dealing with right now?
Oh, it wouldn't. I probably wouldn't be here. because I couldn't handle any of this money or any of this stuff. But Celeste has because of my experience with when I went to the NFL, not being able to understand money and financial planning and financial literacy, we got Celeste an NFL money manager and an NFL agent. So then all of this stuff is really structured for success when he's in his 50s, 60s.
That's fantastic.
So because I didn't have financial literacy, and I didn't want my kids to go down that road, and they do a good job. And Celeste's super frugal, so like his mom. So he's gonna be set up for success. I was an idiot with money. I'm still an idiot with money. But my wife isn't.
That's great. You have any more fight plans anytime soon?
Only if I get to train with you, brother.
Well, you're the type of guy that I got to be in a little bit better shape if I'm gonna go spar with somebody like you, because we were talking about you on the show yesterday, and it's like the way I describe it is when you're doing rounds with Ben Moa or somebody like Ben Moa, like it's fine, that's great, that's fun, but you don't want to escalate like the speed and the contact unless you're really ready for it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what we did. We banged, but then we kind of read each other's body. Like, okay, we're not gonna go crazy. We're just touching, just doing our thing.
Yeah, because nobody's paying for a sparring round in the gym, and it's like, well, this dude is. If I'm gonna fight Ben Moa, I need to be paid a lot of money to fight Ben Moa. I love to train with Ben Moa, but I'm not fighting a guy like that for free. Dude, you're the man.
I'm not the one that won I'm not the one that won $1 million.
Well, I got lucky. It all worked out in the end. So that's why I walked away when it was hot.
Vinny Magalhaes trying to put you in the chokehold and you kept banging him out. You're the man, brother.
Jiu-jitsu doesn't work, Ben. Come on. We know that.
Not after you get punched in the face 300 times.
Well, let's get together sometime soon. Congratulations to you, to your family, and all that success, and everyone, obviously, in the Ute Nation's very, very excited to see what the next MOA at the University of Utah can do. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, brother.
Ben Moa, Utah football legend. He did have his cup of coffee in the NFL, and then mid-30s, again, while he'd raised the young years out of his boys, and then he got back into into athletics, I should say, by the combat sports world, and had a ton of success. Ben was like Jan Jorgensen, who I've talked about plenty. Ben was one win away from being in the UFC or in the PFL or in one of the big-time organizations. He was one win away. And then, that's without ever being a full-time fighter. He was running his businesses, working full-time, being a full-time dad, and almost like by accident, almost casually, ended up as one of the top fighters in the world. That's the kind of athlete that guy is. And then we combined that, he combined that with the athleticism of the Nuno family, his wife's side of the family, and now Utah gets the benefit from that special mix for the foreseeable future. Celeste Moa at the University of Utah. Big thanks to Ben for joining us. All right, we got some more Evanescence tickets to give away as we wrap up the show next on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show wrapping up here on a Thursday. It's ESPN 792 on FM. Spence Checketts and The Drive are next. We've got tickets to give away, Evanescence tickets, a pair of them, if you can answer this question. We just caught up with Ben Moa, the Utah football legend, father of Celeste Moa, who is now the second highest rated recruit in the history of Utah football after the Tennessee flip yesterday. What NFL team did Ben Moa sign with initially out of the University of Utah? 877-353-0700 for a pair of tickets to Evanescence coming July to America First Credit Union Amphitheater. Spence Checketts, how are you?
What does it feel like to be punched in the face by Ben Moa? I'm listening to the interview. I'm like, wait a second. I didn't know that dude got into. And then you said bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah.
Have you been hit in the face by Ben Moa with a bare knuckle?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
God, that's like death.
And so we trained together a couple times, and we sparred carefully.
Yes, I heard that.
And that's enough. Like, someone his size, and now also his age, should not be able to move like he does.
Yeah.
But that's why he was able to have a little time in the NFL, because he's an alien.
As I've always said, man, whenever the apocalypse happens, I'm rolling with the Polys, man.
Dude, it's a different thing.
I'm rolling with y'all.
And
Just
now,
let me in. Let me on the bus.
And now Ben's youngest son is coming to the University of Utah to carry on the legacy.
I've got to say, I think the last 24 hours, and, we're still kind of waiting on the WIT stuff. Who knows when that's going to become public. I think the last 24 hours should make Utah fans feel really, really good. Because so much of the attention, and obviously the news cycle has been dominated by Kalani because of the Penn State stuff. But, the reports are not just Kalani got paid and Jay and A-Rod got paid, but they've got a nice little coffer now for NIL. And ultimately, BYU signed a really good class, but we've known that for a while. I think, flipping Moa, and then have we heard anything about the Twins just yet? Or are we still waiting on that?
Yeah, nothing official yet.
Okay. But this is a good, solid class. And I heard Ben, this outside of the takeaway that homeboy got into MMA and then just wondering what it would be like to be punched in the face by him, the main takeaway was what he said about NIL. When he said Utah can hang with anyone in the country. Because remember, he was going to Tennessee, and Tennessee's got pockets, right?
Remember Tennessee, like 3 years ago, threw $8 million at
right.
Nico Iamaleava, and now they're not getting less money now at Tennessee.
No, it's really good news. It's really good news. If you're a Ute fan, I think if you missed Ben's interview, we might bring that back. Because I hopped in the car a little bit late. I'm like, wait a second, who is it? And then you reset. I'm like, oh, this is actually Ben. Because I was wondering, like, does he know what he's talking about as it pertains to the situation? And then you're like, yeah, this is Ben Moa. I'm like, oh, okay, this is the actual guy that we want to get on the show. The NIL comments were massive. And then, there's some conversation about Morgan this, Morgan that. One thing Morgan has always been is a high-level recruiter. Right. And so I was just kind of picturing when Ben was describing the coaching staff, outlining the plan. Morgan's like elite at that. Right. Like, yeah. I do think, and you tell me, the future of the kid in the NFL is probably in the secondary. He's probably an NFL safety. Or do you think he could, because he's also a wide receiver, which is exactly what Utah needs.
Built a heck of a lot like Puka Nacua.
Is he?
So
yeah.
Who knows?
Okay.
Part of that is we don't think of like a hard-hitting Polynesian kid as a wide receiver, but he's incredibly skilled, has great body control, and like his dad said, he was playing 2 years up all the way through his childhood and training with his college-bound brothers when they were in high school, so that when he got to high school, he's just like, oh, what? All these like little kids are trying to tackle me? Yeah. That's why he was so good.
I loved Ben was like, yeah, when he gets to college, it'll just be easy. It's like he's going to be used to all the yelling.
Yeah, because Ben's nuts.
Exactly, and he's going to be used to like playing against high-level athletes.
Well, you're absolutely correct with what you said about Morgan, but I want to give credit where it's due because Ben also said Lewis Powell called and said, "Can I talk to my nephew?" Yep. Like the fact that Lewis has the relationships that he has, certainly with his former teammates at the University of Utah, like Ben is, that makes total sense.
Yeah,
but Lewis Powell has unbelievable relationship building skills as a human being. He is just if you find someone who doesn't like Lewis Powell, that's a them problem.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows how to turn that into recruiting leverage in a non-nefarious way, but because the parents trust him and the kids trust him, and he has full intentions on making sure he carries out what is best for an entire family when they come to the University of Utah. And that is such an asset to have on Kyle Whittingham's staff and presumably on Morgan's staff after that.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. And, certainly when it comes to the family element of Utah football, because I also listened to Ewed earlier, great job with that interview. I don't know how I would handle it if I was Ben or Ewed when you have these kids that could pretty much go wherever. I thought it was interesting here. Both of them essentially said, well, wherever they go, then I'll just support that. And certainly you're a parent now, and I've raised a child who's now 24. And when they're born, you're kind of like, they're going to do this and that, and I'm going to, they're going to go to this school, they're going to love this sport, they're going to love this band, they're going to like this type of music. And then what you realize really quickly is, I just hope they smile a lot.
Yeah.
I just hope they're happy, like whatever it is. And if they're into something that I didn't foresee, then, I'll act as like, I always talk about parenting as like the gutter protectors in bowling. Right? That's what you are. You're there to kind of keep the thing on track because it's not a straight line, and they're going to wreck a car, and they're going to have their heart broken, and they're going to find a career. They're going to get rejected and cut from a team, and they're going to go to a different, like whatever it is. But when you have, and Ben actually talked about this, with his kids, and the NIL stuff has changed this thing so much because there's more at stake. That's just how money works. When you have potentially the ability to create a financial pathway for yourself at the age of 17 and 18 because you're a great football player, that changes the urgency and the prescient nature of making the right choice, which means is they would not have chose Utah if this was not the absolute right choice because he had so many other options. So for a Ute fan that's heard all of these, A.J. DeBonsa, $5 million for 4 months of basketball, Kalani's now the second highest paid coach in the country, Rider lines this. The past 24 hours, if you're a Utah football fan, should make you feel really, really good.
I agree. That will be a theme on Spence's show today. I'm sure of it. Make sure you stay tuned. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll do it again tomorrow on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700.